What is up, everybody? Welcome to LTMB Live, Let the Madness Begin. This is November 19th already. Can't believe that, but yeah. We are here. We're a little bit late, about 10 minutes late. Really just trying to stay abreast of all the news going on, especially the impeachment inquiry hearings. There's a hearing going on.
Still going on right now.
As we speak.
I mean, I figured it would be a long day considering how many individuals were set to testify. So.
Yeah, we had four today. Four people today. We had an aide to VP Mike Pence. That was Jennifer Willams. We also had testifying with her. We had... my gosh, not Morrison, not Volker, but Vindman. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander S. Vindman testifying, who worked on who still does work on the National Security Council, the top expert on Ukraine. And then going on right now, we still have the former special envoy to Ukraine, Kurt Volker, and an aide, I believe it's the top advisor in the NSC, who was, I guess, ranked over Vindman, who Vindman, I guess, reported to. That was Tim Morrison. So again, that is still going on right now. Of course, we don't have everything. Couldn't really grab too many clips of that. We got one clip, one important clip, highlighting a change in Volker's testimony that we'll get to a little bit later. But we kind of knew that was going to be coming. Had to come. It had to come.
Yeah, once everybody issued their witness statements.
Yeah.
And they contradicted a little bit with Volker. I think Volker was left with no choice but to kind of adjust his own testimony.
Right.
I think he was trying to cover himself first.
He's still doing that.
He's still doing a little bit.
He's still doing
He's going to have to, it's going to have to unravel at some point.
Yeah. He was being challenged, but these two right now, these are actually the Republicans' witnesses that they wanted to call. I'm sure the Democratic Party, they wanted to hear from them as well, but these are Republican witnesses. And they, you can kind of tell that they are, because they're a lot, I guess, nicer in the way they're framing things. It's just a lot different from the others that are testifying. They seem to want to go to at least some lengths to
attack.
Absolve. No,
just
absolve.
Absolve the president.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
These two, Morrison and Volker.
Well, I was saying that the Republicans seem to be more concerned with crafting, conspiracy narratives.
Oh yes, very much.
Differently when it comes to these two particular witnesses that are the Republicans called. They were crafting conspiracy narratives, but like the energy was different.
Yeah, it was a lot different.
It wasn't. That's why I used the word attack, because it wasn't used to attack them in the same way.
So we're going to kind of briefly go over Friday's testimony, and that was of the former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch. So she was the only one to testify on Friday. And I thought her testimony was enlightening. It's the first time many of us had a chance to hear from her directly. Of course, she did testify behind closed doors before, but this was her time to get her story out. So it was just very interesting how she kind of mapped out everything that went on. So beginning with her ouster. So she said that she was, I believe, at her house. She was holding a function for somebody in Ukraine that was actually fighting corruption, corruption activists, and well, anti-corruption activists in Ukraine. And this woman had actually, I don't believe at the time, but she has since died because she was attacked with acid. Somebody threw acid on her, and she died a pretty long and painful death. But they held an event for her just to recognize her work. And it was at this event that she said that she got a call from the Secretary General, Carol Perez, informing her that that I guess the State Department couldn't protect her anymore, and that she wanted to give her a heads up that there was a problem down the street. And what down the street means is the White House. There's a problem with the White House and her. And just about her, it wasn't about her physical safety, because she wanted to be reassured that it wasn't about her physical safety, because she had heard nothing as of yet. But she said no, it wasn't about her physical safety. It was just, I guess, about her position.
Her position, like her job security.
Yes.
Her, I guess, not security credentials, but she was later told that there were security issues or something like that. I think that was the deputy secretary of state or something.
Well, I'm not sure who you're talking
about.
Okay. But anyway, so she, like I said, she told her she didn't have all the information for her. She said she was going to get back to her in a few hours. And so I guess, local time in Ukraine, that was about 1:00 a.m. She stayed up because I guess she was wanted to know some more information. So Perez gave her a call back and essentially told her to get on the next plane back to Washington, D.C. And so she did. And there, when she did finally arrive back stateside, she found out that, the president had lost confidence in her. And so essentially her time was up as ambassador of Ukraine. And so this definitely followed a long campaign, a long smear campaign that was headed by none other than former mayor Rudy Giuliani. And also two Ukrainian Americans, in Lev Parnas and Igor, I can't remember the guy's name now. Igor, I know it's Lev and Igor though. And if you have not heard those two names before, they are definitely cohorts, goons of Rudy Giuliani, possibly even the President of the United States, Donald Trump. But they really, like I said, embarked on this smear campaign, and they wanted her out for some reason. And so throughout the course of this testimony, it was kind of eye-opening, because something was kind of revealed that I don't believe was talked about too much before. Because if you've been paying attention throughout testimony on the first day, and that was of the acting ambassador Bill Taylor, the Republican Party questioned Taylor on, well, why would the president oust you if something was inappropriate here? And I guess there was this effort to put somebody in your place that would allow this illegal scheme to go forward, to commence these investigations of, or at least to announce the investigations of Burisma and the Bidens and Ukraine in general of the 2016 election. Why would they put somebody in there like Bill Taylor, somebody with the utmost integrity, somebody that nobody has a bad word to say about? So it didn't really make a lot of sense, but that was the Republican argument. Now, during Marie Yovanovitch's testimony, it came up that Lev and Igor were interested in, I guess, getting into the gas business in Ukraine. And of course, Marie Yovanovitch was somebody that was, pretty much all her efforts were about, not all, but a significant portion of her efforts were about anti-corruption, leading or trying to help facilitate Ukraine into an anti-corruption country, because it has been endemic to the country. So Lev and Igor saw Marie Yovanovitch as an obstacle to them getting involved because they had no experience in that industry, and they were going to go about these things in a very corrupt way. So they needed her out. And the perception is that Donald Trump aided that. And that's why he had her removed. So that's an interesting...
and during her testimony, she did say there was no real reason offered as to why she had to leave.
No reason.
And again, if she but she has sat in that position, or not just that position, but many positions, through, I think, like not six different presidents, but at least 6 different presidential terms.
Right.
I think it would be courteous and professional to tell Yovanovitch like why she was being let go.
Right.
That never happened. They couldn't even make anything up. But I think concerning Yovanovitch, we need to establish a few things, you know, so we could set the stage to kind of point to how dubious her being fired was. Because the Republican narrative is that she was insufficient in her job performance. And that's a storyline that even Trump is parroting, and he did that on Twitter.
He did.
During her testimony.
During the testimony.
During the testimony. I think he's quoted in the tweet as saying, "Everywhere Maria Yovanovitch went turned bad." So that's a suggestion that she was bad at her job. But I mean, to me, all it looked like was like a preemptive attack to try to disparage her and to try to like rationalize why they let her go. But I mean, as far as I know, based on her testimony, she was given a performance review in March, and she passed.
Yeah, I don't believe she had ever gotten a poor performance review.
The review is done.
Especially recently.
The review is done by State Department officials.
Of course. And another thing to point out too is that while the president of the United States had, for some reason, lost confidence in her ability to serve as the ambassador to Ukraine, nobody in the State Department had a negative word to say about her.
Nope. They actually offered her a job extension.
That's right. Because it was supposed to end in 2019, they wanted her to go to 2020.
And during that time, she received the Senior Foreign Services Performance Award 6 times, and the State Department Superior Honor Award 5 times. She also received another award for Diplomacy for Human Rights, for working with free political prisoners in Armenia. And she also advocated to free an imprisoned whistleblower in Armenia as well. I think that was in 2011. So it doesn't look like Marie Yovanovitch was like a diplomatic liability.
Yeah, like a problem of some sort.
A problem of some sort.
But President Trump did communicate that she was, like you said, during her public hearing, he tweeted out that message, which there are some who feel like that was harassment, and he was trying to silence her or trying to scare her, really. But in his tweet, he said that she started off in Somalia. How did that go? You're putting Somalia on her? Why would you put any country's negative experiences on an ambassador? On one person? The ambassador's supposed to fix everything? And when she got to Somalia, how were things? It's like he doesn't communicate this at all, but he just throws it out there to suggest that. I guess Somalia was a great place and there was nothing wrong with it, but then
Yovanovitch
showed
and
up.
Everything just fell apart.
Just fell apart. So that's why I ousted her, because she just makes things worse.
Again, until this Trump-Ukraine extortion situation popped off, I don't believe he ever had anything negative to say about her.
No, I don't believe I ever even heard the name Marie Yovanovitch before.
No. She was, like I said, she was a staple throughout 6 different administrations. So she kind of has, she she more than has her foot in the door. She had already established herself to be a nonpartisan actor in all this.
Before before that tweet, because the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, he read off this tweet right after President Trump had sent it, posted it on Twitter. And even before that, Marie Yovanovitch was questioning, because the reality is that a president can appoint and oust any ambassador that he or she chooses to appoint or oust. I don't really know that a reason needs to be given. If they want somebody else in that position, they have the right to do that. But what Marie Yovanovitch was questioning is why the smear campaign. Why was there a smear campaign that was launched by Giuliani and Lev and
goons.
Igor? Yeah, the two goons.
And Trump Jr.
Trump Jr. as well. You heard this stuff on Fox News. Why this massive campaign to just completely
disparage her character?
And in such a way.
And there's no complimentary reason as far as job performance going along with that. If there was, okay, but there wasn't. So if it's at the president's discretion to replace her, fine. But why these unfounded claims? Why this storyline? Why the narrative being created by individuals who are not state actors?
Right.
Giuliani's not a state actor.
Nope.
Lev and Igor are not state actors. Hannity is not a state actor.
Nope. Donald Jr.
He's not
a state actor.
So none of these people have any kind of real knowledge about her job performance, and and quite frankly, whatever narrative they were trying to shape actually ran opposite to reality of her job performance. So, what like you said, why the necessity to do that?
Yeah, it didn't make sense, and she felt like she was being intimidated, throughout this whole time, because it started in 2018. She was aware of this back in 2018, and it just kept escalating. And so, like I said, she did feel like she was being intimidated, and she did want the State Department to step up and somewhat support her, do something. Pompeo, the Secretary of State, put a statement forward, show some expression that you have her back, that she has your support, but nothing came to fruition whatsoever. So she was just pretty much just left out there. Now, people at the State Department felt, some type of way about this. They didn't believe that it was right to smear her record and just to smear her character.
They were the ones giving her a heads up.
Yeah, but again, they couldn't really provide any insight into why this was happening. So then, like I said, after she's questioning why this road had to be taken, then Trump, during the hearing, tweets out this message of, like I said, could be interpreted as further intimidation. So, like I said, I believe her testimony. She came off as very truthful, and not only did she come off as truthful, she came off as more sympathetic than anyone could have imagined because of Trump's own doing. I think she was already going to seem like she was credible. Her story was credible, but by Trump attacking her in real time, you just added fuel to the fire.
That's an interesting way to look at it, because I think we've mentioned other instances where maybe kind of Trump overextended his hand a bit and doing things that are unnecessary.
Very.
I think this is one of them. One of the main instances we bring that up is with Biden, in essence. What kind of led up to this whole impeachment inquiry hearing. We don't feel that Biden was strong enough of a candidate in the first place to even, for Trump to even try to abuse his executive power to try to smear Biden. We don't even think he's a strong enough candidate. We thought that if Trump was going to do something like this, he could have at least waited. He may not even have to do this. And so I look at Yovanovitch in the same way. If they just wanted to let her go, just let her go.
Yeah.
If they're saying it's at the discretion of the president, fine, it's at the discretion of the president, and just let it be. Hey, we're moving forward with somebody else. You've done, just even lie. Say, hey, you've done a good job. You've done a good job, but I want my guy in there. But to go about it in this way with the smear campaign, it does kind of bring about some suspicions as to their motives. Why the smear campaign? And quite frankly, they didn't have to do it. This is another thing that I don't think Trump had to do.
No, he could have just left it alone, and really nobody would have any ammunition to say too much of anything. You just wanted somebody else in that role. Maybe I don't know if anybody would have connected the dots on how this played into the effort to do anything. So, but there were some things that emerged during this hearing that I want to cover. So in the opening statement, Devin Nunes, who is the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, he read into the record the first memorandum of phone call, I believe it's called. Is that what's called? Memorandum of phone call?
I forgot the official name of it, but it was a memorandum of the phone call between Donald Trump and President Zelensky.
Well, you remember how President Trump said he was going to release the first one? Well, Devin Nunes read that one into the record. What's interesting about what he read into the record is that it didn't contain any message about corruption at all. And why that is important is because after that phone call took place earlier this year, the White House put out some sort of short description of what was discussed, and it said the talk centered around rooting out corruption. But the transcript, the pseudo transcript, just the summary of the phone call, didn't lay out corruption talk whatsoever. So that's two calls where this guy, President Trump, that's all concerned about corruption in Ukraine, doesn't address corruption at all. Also, numerous attempts by the GOP to obstruct the process. So we know that the Democratic Party, actually, there was a vote on how these procedures were going to go, the structure of the impeachment inquiry. So it doesn't really. It's a little bit different towards the beginning of these hearings, because after the chairman gives his opening statement, and then after the ranking member Nunes gives his opening statement, then it goes to the witnesses for their opening statements. All that's regular. But then after that, it usually goes into 5-minute rounds for the different Congress members, for the different committee members, for them to ask questions to the witnesses or just make a statement. That still applies, but what is in the middle of that is a 45-minute session for both sides, the chairman side and the ranking member side, for them to ask questions of the witness without interruption. So it can either be the chairman, who is Adam Schiff, and the Democratic counsel, who is Daniel Goldman. Or when it gets to the ranking member side, Devin Nunes, it can be him asking questions, or it can be the Republican counsel, which is Steve Castor. They know this. They know what the rules are. But the Republicans want to convey a message. They want to convey that things are very inappropriate here in terms of what the Democratic Party are doing. They are being unfair. This is an unfair process. So what Devin Nunes tried to do was throw his time, that 45-minute time, he tried to throw that to Representative Elise Stefanik, which is not permitted, and he knows this. So as soon as he does that and Representative Stefanik starts speaking, Adam Schiff shuts it down. And so you can definitely see that we don't have the clip, but you can see that Elise Stefanik is annoyed. It seems fake, which I believe it is. But she's annoyed. What is it now? What are you interrupting for now? It's because you don't have this time to talk. It is impermissible for you to talk. So they're all upset about this. Like I said, and they talked about this post the hearing as well. They want to really portray these things as very unfair to the president and the Republican members of that committee. So that was very. It was apparent. Also, a few things. Giuliani tried to overturn a decision to not give the former prosecutor general in Ukraine, Shokin, the one that there was a very big effort to get him fired because he was not actually looking into corruption in Ukraine. He was denied a visa, and I believe Marie Yovanovitch had something to do with that. Giuliani wanted to overturn that decision to give Shokin a visa. So that's another reason, possibly, that they had this I guess, this animosity towards
her.
Yovanovitch.
So it's probably multi-pronged.
Yeah.
Not only is Giuliani representing Trump in this case, but he's probably representing himself too.
Yep. Also, Lutsenko, who is the prosecutor general that followed Shokin, it's becoming more and more, I guess, visible that was probably just as corrupt as Shokin. I believe Yovanovitch testified that they thought that he could be good. I guess they were trying to give him an opportunity to be good and actually root out the corruption in Ukraine, but that didn't actually turn out to be true. He turned out to be, like I said, corrupt as well. Lutsenko is not the prosecutor general anymore, but Lutsenko is the key in this whole discussion because he has been engaging with the types like Rudy Giuliani and trying to, I guess, spread these smears of Marie Yovanovitch and the thought that Ukraine, not Russia, played the role in 2016 election meddling. So these are, look, you hear these types of narratives coming from Russia, which you do, that's a fact. And you hear that coming from this former prosecutor general Lutsenko as well. And you also hear the same type of narrative parroted by Republicans and President Donald Trump as well. Now, this is all going in opposition to what is, at this point, it's not doubted when you're talking about the intelligence community. Whether it was former President Barack Obama's or whether it's the current intelligence community right now, both of them have come to the assessment that it was Russia that was meddling and interfering in 2016 elections. This effort is to try to paint Ukraine as the one that was involved, not Russia.
Now, if it is the case that Trump and various people in Trump's circle don't like that narrative, that's fine. But I think that chapter is over. I don't think that's being litigated any longer.
Well, they're trying to relitigate it.
Again, regardless of how anyone feels about it. Like, I don't even think that that's a conversation anymore. Like, nobody's talking about that. So for Trump to kind of, I guess, be so concerned with absolving Russia and putting the 2016 election meddling on Ukraine is just weird, because that's not something that's currently being litigated. He doesn't have to defend himself for that right now, because that's not something that's currently ongoing. He doesn't have to defend himself. That's long gone.
Well, how would that help, though? How would it would help, because I guess he feels that this could help by putting it on Ukraine, because then he could say that, hey, see, this whole Mueller investigation, it started on false pretenses. Look at the Democrats. Look what they did.
Oh, so he's going to kind of use that politically?
Yes.
Okay, use it in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Which still wouldn't make a lot of sense, because, again, as we have talked about before, the Democratic Party did not start the actual investigation.
I know
did not
that,
start the Mueller investigation.
I know
that was the Republican Party who had control of the House at the time.
See, you can't say that, because I think it kind of upsets people.
Not the House, but they had control of the presidency.
They had
control of the DOJ and the FBI.
So I don't understand what the need to try to absolve Russia for. Again, that's long gone.
It is.
Again, regardless of how you feel about it, that's long gone. That's not a story. That's not something the president even has to worry about. Or is it? Obviously, it is something he has to worry about.
What is he going to run on?
Or not just what is he going to run on. I'm thinking, like, the only way he feels he needs to absolve Russia is because he feels he owes something to them. That's the only reason. Again, because that's long gone. That's behind us. Right? He escaped that.
Yeah.
So there's no ongoing litigation that first Rudy Giuliani has to be involved in, because there's no ongoing case. There's no ongoing litigation that Donald Trump has to be involved in, because there's actually no ongoing case. He can actually open one if he wanted to. He has the power of the Department of Justice, and he has a henchman on his side, and that's Bill Barr, who has been running around the world trying to drum up dirt and trying to influence other countries to put information out there about the 2016 election on behalf of Donald Trump. So there's a long game here. And I think just like Biden is kind of, the whole Biden investigation thing, I think that's an issue, but I do think that's kind of almost like the foundation for that. I think they wanted that to be the distraction for all the other stuff they were going after.
So the last thing that I want to mention about Marie Yovanovitch's testimony is one thing that she was saying, and I believe it wasn't just one time, but she made this point that false allegations led to her ouster. And she was questioning what has happened to official U.S. policy in where smears can cause an ambassador to be removed. Smears, unfounded rumors, unfounded allegations, nothing that's can actually be attributed to her in any real way, but that led to her ouster. So, I mean, it's just like I said, I didn't know of Marie Yovanovitch before these proceedings began. But it seems that she did have a very good track record, and, she worked to her best ability to, in her several stops, but recently, Ukraine, she worked to her best ability to rid the country of Ukraine, among other things. You can, I guess, in a broad sense, you can say that she's part of the system in which these ambassadors are in other countries to, I guess, direct U.S. policy as well. Not just help with the country that they're in, but they're there to facilitate U.S. policy as well. So that is definitely economic. So, I definitely believe that we would have some problems with what official U.S. policy is in a number of areas. Mm-hmm. But that's not the issue here. Yeah. That's not the issue. The issue here is how she was ousted, how she was removed from her job. Like Mike said, if Trump wanted to remove her, he had every right to do so. He did not have to sully her reputation at all. The fact that he did, it leaves you questioning why. Why was the smear campaign launched? It doesn't make a lot of sense if nothing nefarious was at play here. All right, so let's go to today now, okay? So today, we talked about there's 4 witnesses that testified today in the public impeachment inquiry, and there were 2 separate hearings. The hearing earlier today was that of... is it Lauren? No.
Williams?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. All right, so yeah, today who testified was Vice President Mike Pence's special advisor on Europe and Russia. Her name is Jennifer Williams, and Lieutenant Colonel Alexander S. Vindman, who's a lieutenant. Did I say commander? Lieutenant Colonel. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Army. So we have already talked about at least Vindman's opening statement that was released prior to this public hearing. I don't believe we've talked about Jennifer Williams. I don't believe.
No, we haven't talked about her once.
No. But preceding these hearings, President Trump had something to say about it. So on Twitter, he put this message out there, and this was directed at, or I guess referenced, Jennifer Williams. So he said, tell Jennifer Williams, whoever that is, to read both transcripts of the presidential calls and see the just released statement from Ukraine. Then she would meet with the other never-Trumpers, who I don't know and mostly never even heard of, and work out a better presidential attack. So he seems to communicate that now the still in her job as a special advisor to the current vice president.
His
His
president.
vice president, Mike Pence. She's still in that role, still in that capacity as special advisor. That person is also a never Trumper.
Well, I'm sure once Pence gets wind of this, she's going to be let go.
Yeah, you couldn't allow a never Trumper.
You couldn't allow a never Trumper to
be so close.
Be so close to the president.
So yeah. You know what's real ridiculous about this is that the phrase never Trumper has actually become a thing. How ridiculous is it that never Trumper, how narcissistic is that? You're a never Trumper. Who? What? I can't believe this is an actual, like, this is a sustained attack. People actually believe in this. These witnesses actually have to answer questions about if they are never Trumpers or not.
And not answer, or really the answers that they have been given, answers that specifically relate to them being a witness, seem to not matter.
Doesn't matter. And this was before she testified. This was 2 days before she even testified. Now, of course, there were some words. I believe her transcript. I believe her transcript was released. I'm not sure the transcript of her closed door testimony. I believe it was released. I can't be certain of that. But by President Trump communicating that all she needs to do is look at both transcripts, both summaries of the phone calls that he had with President Zelensky. If you just look at that, then I guess any questions or any concerns that you have will be alleviated. No.
So I think, Trump tends to inadvertently point to his own guilt in many instances. Mm-hmm. And anytime he just brings attention to the transcript, I think he's doing that. Because all the testimony we've heard, it goes beyond just the transcripts or the transcript of that call. It goes beyond that. There's a lot of activity and side activity that has been going on that has created this narrative and created this issue for Donald Trump. So it's not just about the phone call, and Donald Trump knows that. Mm-hmm. He knows all the stuff that was going on between Volker, Sondland, and Taylor. He knows the communications between them. Mm-hmm. He knows that there are individuals that are tasked to be, intermediaries between the United States and Ukraine that have come forward. He knows that. There's testimony that, cast him as essentially a mob boss in all this, and using some questionable individuals to complete some sort of agenda in regard to benefiting the president. Mm-hmm. So he knows all this. So it behooves Trump to keep it about the phone call, because he knows there's other stuff that implicates him.
So where we're going to start is, I believe this is where, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman is responding to Adam Schiff, I believe. He begins talking about the July 10th meeting at the White House. So we have referenced this meeting many times, and there were certain people that were there. There was Ambassador Gordon Sondland that was there, ambassador to the EU, special envoy to Ukraine. Kurt Volker was there. Fiona Hill was there as well. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton was there, among others. Bill Taylor, I believe, was there. No, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. I can't be sure. There's too many. It's too many names. But anyway, there were a number of people that were in attendance, and this was the time where it has been revealed that Ambassador Sondland spoke with a Ukrainian official. There was a Ukrainian official there at the White House, and Ambassador Sondland rattled off something about investigations needing to be commenced in order to secure the meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky. And again, we have reported that with that assertion, with that remark by Gordon Sondland, the meeting ended abruptly. And it was the former National Security Advisor John Bolton who seemed disgusted by that assertion, and he prematurely ended the meeting.
John Bolton.
John Bolton.
John Bolton was disgusted. Think about that. Think about that.
Yes. And as there have been a number of witnesses now that have said that what John Bolton said was that he was not going to be party to like this drug deal. He equated it to like a drug deal.
Now think about how sheemy and shisty you gotta be for John Bolton.
Yeah. For you to be too far for John Bolton.
Yeah, that's a bridge too far. John Bolton now. This mug has done everything he could do in order to start wars.
Yep, but this was too far.
This was too far. That should tell you something.
All right, so this is Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman talking about that July 10th meeting at the White House.
To the best of my recollection, Ambassador Sondland said that in order to get a White House meeting, the Ukrainians would have to provide a deliverable, which is investigations, specific investigations.
And what was Ambassador Bolton's response or reaction to that comment?
We had not completed all of the agenda items, and we still had time for the meeting, and Ambassador Bolton abruptly ended the meeting.
Did you report this incident to the National Security Council lawyers?
Yes, I did.
Based on Ambassador Sondland's remark at the July 10th meeting, was it your clear understanding that the Ukrainians understood they had to commit to investigations President Trump wanted in order to get the White House meeting?
It may have not been entirely clear at that moment. Certainly, Ambassador Sondland was calling for these meetings, and he had stated that this was developed per a conversation with the Chief of Staff, Mr. Mick Mulvaney, but the connection to the President wasn't clear at that point.
But the import of what Ambassador Sondland said during that meeting was that there was an agreement with Mick Mulvaney that Zelensky would get the meeting if they would undertake these investigations.
That is correct.
All right. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is who has the ear of the president, and that is Ambassador Gordon Sondland. It's been reported as well that Gordon Sondland went around saying to maybe possibly a number of people, saying that he can get President Trump on the phone anytime he wanted to, just kind of bragging about his stature. So Vindman had no communication with President Trump. Bill Taylor, no communication, no direct communication with President Trump. A lot of these figures did not have direct communication with President Trump. But this guy, Sondland, who does have direct communication, is saying something to this Ukrainian official about how to secure the meeting.
This is why kind of the Republican angle to attack all this is bunk. Because they're expecting everyone to know everything at the same time, as if they are a part of the back channel. They're just a part of the regular channel.
Right.
And that's what that's the role that they're meant to have. They're not supposed to be like privy, and they're not supposed to be in on the back channel stuff. They're just there as kind of I don't want to say shiny objects, but they are there to give the appearance of everything being on the up and up.
Right.
That's why, because you went into like how they're decorated and whatnot, how they're well respected, how they have good reputations. That's purposeful. They want people in there like that, but I guess they weren't counting on people like Vindman and people like Taylor to kind of sniff out this back channel and have a problem with it. Damn. Again, they were not supposed to be a part of this back channel. So it's Sondland who is essentially the point man in all this, and that's why Yovanovitch is gone, so Sondland can do his work.
You just kind of I hadn't really thought about it like this, but particularly Republican counsel Steve Castor. I've heard him say this at least twice now, and he has talked about how the effort from the CEO of Burisma to invite other individuals onto the board of Burisma was some type of like protection attempt to kind of insulate him from any type of negative attention, criminal prosecutions or anything like that, to bring on people that, like I said, maybe had some high integrity, high stature, whatever, some clout, something like that. It's funny that he categorizes Burisma being about that, but like you just pointed out, it seems as though that's true with President Trump. He surrounded these really dirty individuals like Sondland, and I still believe Volker as well. Again, we're going to get to Volker. But he surrounded these people that were doing his dirty business with people that have unblemished records. So that's very interesting.
And the people with unblemished records were not in the fraternity.
No.
Not in the back channel fraternity.
No, did not have direct communication with Trump at all. All right, so here we're going to hear again from Lieutenant Colonel Vindman and how he reacted, his initial reaction to the July 25th phone call between President Trump and President Zelensky. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman was actually on the call listening in.
Without hesitation, I knew that I had to report this to the White House counsel. I had concerns, and it was my duty to report my concerns to the proper people in the chain of command.
And what was your concern?
Well, Chairman, as I said in my statement, it was inappropriate, it was improper for the president to request to demand an investigation into a political opponent, especially a foreign power where there's at best dubious belief that this would be a completely impartial investigation, and that this would have significant implications if it became public knowledge, and it would be perceived as a partisan play. It would undermine our Ukraine policy, and it would undermine our national security.
Now, Colonel, you've described this as a demand, this favor that the president asked. What is it about the relationship between the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine that leads you to conclude that when the President of the United States asks a favor like this, it's really a demand?
Chairman, the culture I come from, the military culture, when a senior asks you to do something, even if it's polite and pleasant, it's not to be taken as a request. It's to be taken as an order. In this case, the power disparity between the two leaders, my impression is that in order to get the White House meeting, President Zelensky would have to deliver these investigations.
Basically, Trump was not bringing this up for no reason.
Yeah.
Trump wasn't bringing these investigations up for no reason. That's not something you bring up in passing, or you just bring up, just nonchalantly. You want that to get done. You want those things to get done. I mean, especially if you say the word favor.
Yes. And think about what's already hanging over the head of Ukrainian officials. Now, so far, everyone that has testified believes that Ukrainians did not know that the security assistance was withheld until that political report, and I believe that was end of August, like August 28th, August 29th. But what also is hanging over the head is the investigations, which they did know about prior to this. Months in advance, they knew about the investigations that President Trump wanted. So that's hanging. They already know about this. And here we have on July 25th, President Trump is actually, again, communicating that directly to the president of Ukraine. Hey, I want a favor here. So you already know about this. You already heard from your staff, your personnel, your officials that are close to you. You've already heard, especially, and you recall, just about 2 weeks prior, on July 10th, a meeting at the White House. What did Sondland say again? He said that to secure the meeting with President Zelensky and President Trump, you had to commit to the investigations. So you already knew about this. President Zelensky would have had to already known about this. So when President Trump is saying that he needs a favor done, this is not a simple ask. And you don't need to, because we're going to get into the assault on Vindman's testimony, on his, I guess, from where he comes from. He's coming from a military background. And if a superior officer asks him of something, it's an order. It's not just a simple ask. There's an assault on that narrative from Republican Chris Stewart that we're going to get to. But still, you don't even have to take it to his background. If somebody in a superior place asks you for a favor, it's not really just a simple favor, especially if they're holding something over your head, if they're hanging something over your head. So
from one president to
think about in crime.
From one president to another president.
Yeah.
This is not something that's routine.
No, it's not. And thinking about in the world of crime, like I think the GOP they're behaving like things need to be said blatantly. Like, hey, this is a quid pro quo. I need you to understand that. Those words do not need to be communicated. Hey, President Zelensky, this is an extortion attempt. I just wanted to let you know that. We don't actually need to hear the words. We know what these actions mean. All right, so before we get to Representative Chris Stewart, we're going to go to Steve Castor, who is the GOP counsel. And Castor goes to the place of... Castor is trying to make the case that President Trump is actually concerned with corruption in Ukraine, and also is somebody that is not too supportive of U.S. aid to different places.
If the U.S. is giving, hundreds of millions of dollars to a foreign nation that has a corruption problem, that's certainly something that the U.S. government officials and the president would want to be concerned about?
Yes.
And if a foreign country has a problem with oligarchs taking money, taking U.S. taxpayer dollars, that's something that the president ought to be concerned about in advance of dispensing the aid?
Yes.
And I believe you did testify that corruption is endemic in Ukraine?
Correct.
Are you also aware of the president's skepticism of foreign aid generally?
I am.
And it's something that he's made part of his priorities to make sure that U.S. foreign aid is spent wisely?
That is correct.
And you're also aware the president has concerns about burden sharing among our allies?
Yes.
And with respect to Ukraine, he was very interested and engaged in seeing if there was a possibility for our European allies to step up and contribute more?
Yes, I think that would be in the context of military assistance. In terms of burden sharing, the European Union provides over $15 billion.
Okay.
First of all, I can smack that narrative down in 2 seconds. Because if he was concerned about corruption in Ukraine and concerned about, U.S. dollars going to aid, then why did he approve aid in 2017? He approved aid once. But see, that was before Joe Biden decided to run for president.
That's correct. That is correct.
So why was he okay with aid a year and a half ago or 2 years ago? But all of a sudden not okay with aid. Now what changed? What changed in Ukraine?
Nothing changed in Ukraine.
Nothing.
Well, actually, what changed in Ukraine is that there's a president that seemingly everybody is or has the opinion that this guy is an actual reformer. This guy is an actual reformer that will actually change Ukraine for the better. So this narrative is a new narrative by the Republican Party. Because at first it was the defense that there was no quid pro quo, there was nothing wrong. And then after Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney kind of admitted it, no, not kind of, he did admit that there was a quid pro quo. Then it was the defense that there was nothing wrong with it. It was nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But this narrative about how Trump was, Trump was really interested in corruption. And also, this is a guy that is, he's kind of weary about delivering foreign aid, and he wants other countries to, chip in their fair share. So what Vindman said at the end was magnificent, because it only takes a simple search on Google to find out how much other countries and the EU is actually helping, like how much they're actually helping Ukraine. And they're helping Ukraine more than we are in terms of actual money. So if Trump was actually, I guess, concerned about how much we were given compared to other countries and the EU, we're not in the lead. So what's the problem? And like you said, this money was approved before by this current president as well. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, if this was a real thing, if this new narrative was a real thing, then why the conversation about Burisma? Why the conversation about the Bidens? And you know what? I don't want to even say Burisma, because that word was not, well, the memorandum, the summary of the phone call did not contain the word Burisma, even though Vindman said that word was actually uttered. It said company on the actual summary. But so Burisma was stated on the phone call. But what Trump actually did say on the phone call was Biden. He did bring up the Bidens. Why, if what's going on here? Like, what this is all about is that Trump is just concerned that other countries are paying their fair share.
And he doesn't want to waste foreign aid.
Doesn't want to waste foreign aid. Then why are you bringing up the Bidens when you're talking to the president of the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, and you're talking about you need a favor?
Well,
It wouldn't make sense.
Well, it makes sense because, Jim Jordan says they were just trying to make sure Zelensky was on the up and up, make sure he was the good guy, so Ukraine could, qualify for the aid according to Trump. Yeah. Because remember, our State Department already released the aid.
Yes.
But Donald Trump, he must have like a third eye, because he saw something wrong apparently. He was like, you know what? I feel it in my gut.
Yeah. Even though the State Department and Pentagon had already certified that enough moves had been made in Ukraine to rid the country of corruption. They were going in the right direction. That's what was certified. But like you said, Trump has this feeling in his gut.
He has a third eye,
Yeah.
and they gave him a feeling in his gut that he had to unilaterally withhold the aid by himself because it was something that he was seeing.
And then launch investigations into Biden? Because that...
Well, maybe that was just a test for Zelensky to see if he was really about tackling corruption. But damn, they released the aid. So
Yeah, they released the aid.
maybe it was just a test. But even if that is, the case, which I don't believe it is, like that's another new narrative. Mm-hmm. Zelensky wouldn't be handling an investigation himself. You would make sure that the officials within Ukraine, like the prosecutors, and you would make sure, like the State Department, you would make sure that those areas are rid of corruption, not the president, because the president is not like personally overseeing, would oversee an investigation like that. So even that narrative doesn't even make sense.
All right, so let's keep going. So now we're going to show the video of Chris Stewart, the GOP representative Chris Stewart, and he tries to poke holes in Alexander Vindman's testimony.
Your interpretation of the word favor, and I'll paraphrase you, and you feel free to correct me. You said, in the military culture, which you and I are both familiar with, when a superior officer asks for a favor of a subordinate, they will interpret that as a demand. Is that a fair synopsis of what you previously stated?
Representative, when a superior makes a request, that's an order.
Okay. In short, then, you think your interpretation of a favor as a demand is based on your military experience and the military culture?
I think that is correct.
I think that is correct. Is President Trump a member of the military?
He is not.
Has he ever served in the military?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is President Zelensky a member of the military? The
Don't
answer is
believe
no.
so. I don't know.
He's not. Would it be fair then to take a person who has never served in the military and to take your reevaluation of their words based on your military experience and your military culture and to attach that culture and that meaning of those words to someone who has never served?
Representative, I made that judgment. I stick by that judgment.
Okay, well, I got to tell you, I think it's nonsense. Look, I was in the military. I could distinguish between a favor and an order and a demand, and so could my subordinates. And I think President Zelensky did as well. He never initiated an investigation. In fact, he's been very clear. He said, I never felt any pressure at all. So you interpreted the word favor, but the two people who were speaking to each other did not interpret that as a demand. It was your interpretation. Is that fair?
The context of this call, consistent with the July 10th meeting, with the reporting that was going on, including the president's personal attorney, made it clear that this was not simply a request.
Well, that's not true at all. It's not clear at all. You say it makes it clear. It's not clear at all. And the two individuals who were talking to each other didn't interpret it that way. I'd like to go on to discuss your reaction to the phone call and, again, your previous testimony. And for brevity and for clarity, I'm going to refer to your previous testimony, page 155. Your attorney is welcome to follow on. Quoting you, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, I did not know whether this was a crime or anything of that nature. I thought it was wrong. And I'd like to key on the word wrong here because we're going to come back to that. In my mind, did I consider this factor that could have been other implications? Yes, but it wasn't the basis of, I don't know, lodging a criminal complaint or anything like that. Then you go on to talk about policy concerns and moral and ethical judgments. So your concerns regarding this phone call were not legal. They were based on moral, ethical, and policy differences. Let me ask you then, and what you thought were wrong, to use your word. You said this was wrong. Not illegal, but wrong. There are, as I've stated sitting here a couple days ago, there are dozens of corrupt nations in the world, hundreds of corrupt government officials. Exactly one time did a vice president go to a nation and demand the specific firing of one individual and give a 6-hour time limit and withhold or threaten to withhold $1 billion in aid if not. It was the one individual who was investigating a company that was paying his son. So I'll ask you, was that also wrong?
That is not what I understand. I frankly don't have any firsthand knowledge of that.
You've not seen the video?
I've seen the video.
That's all I've described is the video. Everything I just said to you was in the video. Was that wrong as well?
Congressman, this is something I actually participated in.
I think the American people can make a judgment.
That I don't
that
know.
Too.
The time of the gentleman's expired.
Let me just clear it up that end because we've talked about this too many times, but the Republican Party still brings it up. What Joe Biden did doesn't seem like it was corruption at all because it wasn't just Joe Biden that's doing it. He didn't do this like it was his personal decision. Like he didn't have the United States government behind him. He did. He was the point person. It was also an effort by essentially the whole West, the IMF, the Parliament, and Ukraine. They all wanted this prosecutor gone because he was corrupt and he was not actually investigating. He was not investigating corruption at all. So for him to compare Biden to what is being, I guess, brought up and what's being addressed with President Trump and his actions is not the same thing whatsoever.
It actually, this is another instance where Republicans are overextending themselves and kind of floating conspiracies that actually come back to hit them in the face. Because if you think about it, them doing this actually makes Biden look good. Because what they're doing is they're just trying to throw two general facts up and kind of allow people to fill in the blanks, even though there's no connection. They'll say, well, a company that Hunter Biden was working for was being investigated, and then Joe Biden fired the prosecutor. The CEO for Burisma put Joe Biden's son on the board. We heard that from, who was it, Nunez, or who was that?
No, it was either during the testimony of Bill Taylor or
whatever.
Yovanovitch.
I don't think it matters, but they put that out there. They were saying that the CEO of Burisma put Hunter Biden on the board, and they were trying to suggest that they were doing that in order to stop
Right.
the
That was
investigation.
Castor.
That was
the
Castor.
GOP Council Castor was saying that.
That's what they were just throwing that out. They were throwing that out there to suggest that. So this connects to what the narrative he's trying to paint. Now, to me, it makes Biden look good in this instance, because if Hunter Biden was put on the board as some sort of bribe to stop an investigation, did that work?
No, because before Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was even ever there, an investigation was already started.
And yeah, exactly.
And who were they investigating? Were they actually investigating the entirety of the company? No, it was about that one CEO. The CEO of the company, I believe his name is Zlochinsky. I forgot his name. But yeah, that was the corrupt guy, the one that they believed that had bribed somebody in the prosecutor general's office to shut down the investigation, and walked away with some U.S. money as well. I believe $23 million. So yeah,
Biden
that guy.
getting put on the board with some sort of peace offering so that his company and him didn't get investigated, it sure as hell didn't work, because what did Biden do? He put forth an effort to get rid of the prosecutor that was not doing the investigation, as well as other investigations too. It just wasn't that prosecutor wasn't looking into that one particular investigation, it was just corruption in general. So by Biden doing that, it actually makes Biden look good in this instance. So them constantly floating that conspiracy theory, it's not wrapped up. It doesn't have an end to it that supports anything that's, I guess, could be considered reality. Now, I got a question. Is request different than demand, or does it matter? Does it matter? A request is different than a demand, but does it matter in this case?
See, you got to put in this case. In this case, I don't believe so, because there's a background to it. If you just tossed it out in general words, is a request different than a demand? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it can be. It definitely can be. But when the United States is already withholding something back from Ukraine, and Ukraine knows about it, and we're not even talking about the money at this point. We're not talking about the security assistance. We're talking about the official meeting between President Zelensky and President Donald Trump. That's what's being held back, and they already know it's contingent on the investigations being announced.
And I think Vindman, kind of using his background to assess this situation, was just an analogy. It wasn't like a analogy that was meant to be like, it's straightforward. This is a straightforward, I'm connecting two identical things. I'm connecting one identical situation to another. He was giving that background for a reason. He was talking about someone who was in a higher position than he is. That's all he was doing. And in this particular case, Donald Trump is actually in a higher position than Zelensky.
And has something of value that they're holding back from Ukraine.
Oh, and he's the commander-in-chief.
Yes.
So, and he likes to call him, like, that's what we call the president, right?
Again, even if the Ukrainians did not know about the withheld security assistance at the moment that phone call took place, they were still withholding the meeting from President Trump and President Zelensky. That was seen as something that needed to take place if President Zelensky is going to be seen as somebody serious on the world stage, and somebody that can seriously negotiate with Russia. So by that not happening, many have testified that kind of weakened the Ukrainian position and just emboldened and strengthened Russia.
So if that is the case, right, why would Zelensky admit that he was under pressure?
It would be a bad look.
It would be a bad look. And from the reaction we've seen from Ukraine, it was a bad look. They're not very happy with that call. Now, why would they not be happy with the call? If the call was on the up and up, and if Zelensky wasn't pressured, why would Ukrainian officials have a problem with the call?
All right. So here, Congressman Ratcliffe, GOP Congressman Ratcliffe, is asking both Jennifer Williams and Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, I guess, how they perceived the call and the request on if it's a demand or not. And then I guess he draws a conclusion based on their answers.
Ms. Williams, you testified that what you noted as being unusual about the call that took place on July 25th was that the president raised what appeared to be a domestic political issue, correct?
Correct.
But raising an issue, even one that you thought was unusual, is different than making a demand. Would you agree?
Yes.
And as I read your deposition, it didn't sound like from your testimony that you heard what took place on that call as a demand for investigations. Is that fair?
I don't believe I'm in a position to characterize it further than the president did in terms of asking for a favor.
We have two independent folks, nonpartisans, and I'm not hearing a consensus between the two of you about what exactly you both heard on the call that you heard at the exact same time. And if you can't reach an agreement with regard to what happened on the call, how can any of us?
They're trying to force these individuals to make a legal assessment.
Right. It's not on them. They are there as fact witnesses. They are not there to make a determination on if this is impeachable conduct, if it's a crime, if it's the demand or not. They're not there for that whatsoever. And so since they won't say it, now Vindman did say that clearly for him, it's a demand because of these dynamics. That's on him.
And again, he is in a different position than
Yes.
William. So he is seeing things that she is not.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just take one person's account. You kind of have to take everyone's account to fit it into an entire narrative here.
But
He's making it like everybody's not seeing the same thing at the same time. So therefore, there's no credibility.
But they're not there for that. Again, they aren't there for that whatsoever. It is on Congress to decide if this is impeachable conduct. That's it. These witnesses here are there to give their story, give the events as they saw them, as they heard them, as they experienced them. That's it. All right, we're going to go to Democratic Representative Peter Welch.
What this hearing is about, I think, was best stated by Colonel Vindman's opening statement. The question before us is this: is it improper for the President of the United States to demand a foreign government investigate a United States citizen and political opponent? Very well stated. I just listened to Mr. Jordan, as you did as well, and I heard his criticisms of the process. Nothing really happened. A lot of people are out to get the president. I didn't hear an answer to the question as to whether it's proper for the President of the United States to demand a foreign government to investigate a U.S. citizen and political opponent. And to date, I haven't heard any one of my Republican colleagues address that question.
I think that's kind of an important and key summation of what this proceeding is about. That's basically the only question that's relevant. Whether Democrats are after Donald Trump is irrelevant. Kind of using these proceedings as some sort of indictment of Democrats for going after Donald Trump, which essentially they didn't, because they weren't in control of that. They weren't in control of the election. They weren't in control of the Mueller investigation. That doesn't matter either. I don't think they have a defense for the president. I think that's what Welsh was trying to kind of suggest here. They have no defense.
After the, I believe it was after the testimony of Bill Taylor, I believe it was, the several members of the Republican committee members on the House Intelligence Committee, they held a press conference outside, and Representative Jim Jordan was asked that question, if it was improper, and he would not answer. He just would not answer. But look, Representative Peter Welch is right that they have not really addressed the most salient question here, but in a backhanded way, or I guess like in a very non-direct way, they have. Because what have we heard them say now? We have heard them say that, hey, well, the money was released without Ukraine having to commit to the investigation. So by saying that, they are saying, in other words, it would have been a problem had Ukraine and President Zelensky actually announced the investigation into Biden Burisma, which is the same thing. So by you saying that, you're saying that, yes, it would have been a problem. So if it would have been a problem here on the end, then it would have had to be a problem at the beginning, in which President Trump launched this effort to get Ukraine to actually announce these investigations. If it's wrong here, then it's got to be wrong at the beginning as well. All right. We got one more for this first hearing earlier today on Tuesday with Jennifer Williams and Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, and that's GOP Representative Will Hurd, who tries to say that, I guess, Trump's actions were proper, and again shifts the conversation, shifts the narrative to one which the effort was to be convinced that Ukraine and President Zelensky were actually seeking out corruption, not, I guess, continuing in Ukraine's familiar history of just engaging in corruption.
In your deposition, and if your lawyer wants to follow on, it's page 306. You were asked about events during the temporary holds on U.S. assistance to Ukraine. This is that 55-day period or so. And you testified that the U.S. administration did not receive any new assurances from Ukraine about anti-corruption efforts, and the facts on the ground did not change before the hold was lifted. Is that accurate in recounting your testimony?
That is accurate.
When was President Zelensky sworn in?
He was sworn in on, May 20th, 2019.
And then he had a new parliament, too, elected after he was. Is that correct?
He did.
And when was that parliament seated?
That was July 21st, 2019.
That was when they won, right? They weren't properly seated until August.
That's right. That's when they won, and they weren't seated until August.
Your boss's boss, Ambassador Bolton, traveled to Ukraine in late August, right? August 27, 28, is that correct?
That is correct.
Did he take you with you? Did he take you with him?
He didn't.
We know from other witnesses that when Ambassador Bolton was there, he met with President Zelensky and his staff, and they talked about how they were visually exhausted, because one of the things that President Zelensky did during that time period was change the Ukrainian constitution to remove absolute immunity from Rada deputies, right? Some of their parliamentarians, because that had been the source of raw corruption for a number of years. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Were you aware of this important change to Ukrainian law?
Of course. Yep.
And you don't believe that's a significant anti-corruption effort?
No, it is significant.
It's pretty significant, correct?
You see what he's trying to do.
He's trying to, it's weird. He's trying to discredit Vindman, but in trying to discredit Vindman, he's actually undercutting the Republican narrative that Ukraine was not, I guess, well, specifically Zelensky, I guess wasn't worthy. Zelensky and Ukraine wasn't worthy to receive the aid because they had not taken steps to rid the country of corruption.
Well, actually, he's trying to aid that conversation, actually, because he's saying in this 55-day period in which the money was being held, they came to the knowledge that Zelensky was actually taking steps, because he said that we're changing the absolute immunity. That happened during these 55 days, but not at the beginning time. That happened after. So it was a step like that convinced President Trump that, hey, we can actually, I guess, trust that President Zelensky is doing his best to rid the country of corruption. We're going to release the aid. That's his argument. But again, if that's his argument, you know what? Okay, fine. But if that's a real argument, if that's a real narrative, then why did President Trump name Biden in the phone call to Zelensky?
Like I'm saying,
why did Gordon Sondland in that July 10th meeting at the White House, why did he communicate to the Ukrainian official that the meeting between both presidents was contingent on the announcement of investigations?
Again, they're trying. It seems like they're trying to move their own goalpost here.
Yes.
Because they know that if you center Biden, it looks bad. Mm-hmm. And so what they have to do is they have to recenter it on Zelensky and whether he made the proper efforts to rid the country of corruption. They have to center on that. They have to center on that as the reason why Trump unilaterally held the aid. Mm-hmm. They have to do that.
Yeah.
But again, if they want to do that, you have to enter material evidence that actually shows that that was the intention. You can't just float that as a theory or as a narrative or as some sort of storyline. You actually have to provide some material evidence that gives credence to that narrative, and they don't have it. We don't have any communications from Sondland or Volker or any other Trump official, part of the national security team or ambassador. We don't have any communications between any of these individuals that indicate that they were trying to vet Zelensky. We would have it.
It's nowhere.
It's nowhere.
It's nowhere to be found.
There's no material evidence showing that.
It seems like this is just a narrative that just came up out of nowhere. And it came up after House impeachment investigators started this whole investigation. They started these proceedings and actually started asking questions about whether Trump's behavior was permissible or
Again, we've talked about this before. If there was something that Trump felt the State Department missed, I do think it is kind of a valid recourse to hold the aid if there's a legitimate reason. If he presents to the State Department like, look, we know Ukraine has a history of corruption, but they need to do this one thing before we release the aid. I don't think the State Department has a problem with it. And remember, the State Department asked the Trump administration why it was being held. And that would have been a legitimate reason.
Yes.
Actually, regardless of how I feel about Trump, I'm like, damn, that is a damn good reason. That would be a damn good reason. We need to see X from Zelensky.
Yes, but
they need to overturn. Go ahead.
Again, I agree that would have been a good reason. But you remember, by this time, that when the aid was held up in the first place, the first time, the State Department, which you're saying, hey, you just communicate that reason to the State Department, the State Department and the Pentagon had already certified that Ukraine had taken enough steps to rid the country of corruption. Why didn't Trump trust that?
And again,
and if he didn't trust it for a good reason, why didn't he communicate that to his State Department, to his Pentagon?
Because that wasn't the reason. Because even I can see that would have been a legitimate reason, even if it wasn't a legitimate reason. Mm-hmm. That would have been a legitimate excuse they could have used. Yeah. That would have been believable.
Yeah.
It was hey, Trump could have doggone come out in a press conference in front of the cameras and a podium and say, hey, look, the State Department has approved aid for this country, but I need to see this, and I need to see this, this, and this from this Zelensky. Until we see this, then it's not going to be released. And also, he would be up front with Zelensky. He would be up front with Ukraine if that was truly the case.
And see, but he didn't even need to go that far. All he had to do, really, this whole scenario would look a whole lot better if one simple thing happened, and if that was Trump-directed acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney to, when talking to the Pentagon and talking to the State Department, to say, well, we're going to put a hold on that aid. Reason being, we need to see more from Zelensky. We need to be sure that Zelensky is the real deal. Now, again, I still don't believe nobody would have been in support of that. Judging from what people have said, people in the State Department, people at the Pentagon, because even people in Congress, because again, this was passed on a bipartisan basis.
I see.
So nobody would have.
I'm glad you went there.
Nobody would have been happy about you withholding this aid, because again, people already felt like it should have, or it was already voted on. It was approved. The State Department and Pentagon, like I said, for I don't know how many times, they've already certified that enough had been done on the anti-corruption front. So I don't think it would have been a good reason, but it still would have been a reason other than, oh, it's a counter-agency issue,
and so
which sounds like nothing.
So the Republicans that are floating this narrative now were approved of the aid at the time.
Oh, yes.
Republicans who are now
approved of the aid.
Yeah, approved of the aid at the time. So now the Republicans that are kind of trying to, I guess, throw a wrench in this impeachment inquiry as it comes to Ukraine and aid and floating these excuses and deflections for President Trump, they approved of the aid at the time.
It's a very interesting point. I think it's a strong point that we have not heard any Democratic committee member make. And I guess you would have to just make the comment, but you would have to make it over and over again as these Republican committee members are trying to make their point repeatedly. But you're not going to get these committee members in the witness chair to ask them questions about, wait, hold on. So months ago, before the aid was withheld, you voted to approve the aid. You voted to have this aid sent to Ukraine. You thought it was necessary. Not only do you think it's necessary, my man Mike, if there is one thing that we have seen repeatedly throughout these hearings from the GOP committee members, it is them comparing Trump to Obama on this front and saying that it was Trump that gave the Ukrainians the security assistance that they needed, the javelins, the anti-tank weapons, this arsenal. It wasn't Obama that showed up for them. It was Trump that did it. So all of these GOP committee members are saying that all this aid was appropriate. They needed it, but they're still in the camp of, but it also needed to be withheld.
Before Zelensky became president.
Before Zelensky became president. All right, so we're going to leave that here and there. We only have one clip for the not the late night. I don't know if it's still going on right now. But in the second hearing of Tuesday, there was NSC, National Security Council aide, Tim Morrison testifying, and testifying with him was the former special envoy to Ukraine, Kurt Volker. So Kurt Volker was the first individual to testify behind closed doors during these impeachment inquiry hearings. He was the first one to give his deposition. Now, others who have testified have sort of contradicted him, much like Sondland. I don't think to the same degree as Sondland, but still. And one point of, I guess one point of concern is that July 10th meeting at the White House, for which Kurt Volker was in attendance. And his earlier testimony, which was released, I believe his transcript was released. But when he spoke about that July 10th meeting at the White House, he did not mention any remarks by Gordon Sondland talking about investigations. He did not mention it whatsoever. There was nothing of concern that he pointed out given that July 10th meeting. So there have been multiple individuals that have said, no, Gordon Sondland, he communicated that the meeting between the presidents was contingent on these investigations being announced, and how the former national security advisor, John Bolton, was apparently very, very disgusted, very unhappy with what Sondland had communicated to the Ukrainian official, and abruptly ended the meeting, and then compared it to a drug deal and how he was not going to be a party to it. Again, this is something that Volker did not say anything about. So, in his opening statement in this hearing, he tries to clear up a little bit.
I participated in the July 10th meeting between National Security Advisor Bolton and then Ukrainian Chairman of the National Security and Defense Council, Alex Danylyuk. As I remember, the meeting was essentially over when Ambassador Sondland made a general comment about investigations. I think all of us thought it was inappropriate. The conversation did not continue, and the meeting concluded. Later on, in the wardroom, I may have been engaged in a side conversation or had already left the complex because I do not recall further discussion regarding investigations or Burisma. Third, I did not understand that others believed that any investigation of the Ukrainian company Burisma, which had a history of accusations of corruption, was tantamount to investigating Vice President Biden. I drew a sharp distinction between the two. It has long been U.S. policy under multiple administrations to urge Ukraine to investigate and fight internal corruption. I was quite comfortable with Ukraine making its own statement about its own policy of investigating and fighting corruption at home. I did not know that President Trump or others had raised Vice President Biden with the Ukrainians, or had conflated the investigation of possible Ukrainian corruption with investigation of the former vice president. In retrospect, for the Ukrainians, it would clearly have been confusing. In hindsight, I now understand that others saw the idea of investigating possible corruption involving the Ukrainian company Burisma as equivalent to investigating former Vice President Biden. I saw them as very different, the former being appropriate and unremarkable, the latter being unacceptable. In retrospect, I should have seen that connection differently, and had I done so, I would have raised my own objections.
I mean, sounds like he's covering himself.
Oh,
but
does it? Does it?
It sounds like he's covering himself, but he is making clear distinctions right there. I think it's important because it, I do like the comment that he made that, what did he say? Something like, it would definitely throw the Ukrainians off.
Yes.
Like, if I'm making that distinction between investigation into just Ukrainian corruption and an investigation into Biden, if I'm making that distinction, and obviously other Ukrainian officials are going to make that distinction too and going to be confused, and not interpret an investigation into Biden as an investigation into corruption in general.
Right.
Which doesn't seem as if Trump ever mentioned.
Right.
Corruption in general,
Corruption
just
in general.
Biden and Burisma.
Right. I think he's doing a little bit too much. I think he's doing a little bit too much to try to
absolve himself
and Trump. I don't know at which point he's being willfully ignorant, but at some point he is. Think about it, because again, I believe it was October 3rd, which he testified behind closed doors. Damn, that would have been a long time ago. Maybe it was October 13th. I'm not sure. That was October 3rd. My goodness. But it was in October. He was the first one to testify, give his deposition behind closed doors. Did not testify that Gordon Sondland said anything inappropriate, and to use his word, unacceptable. He said it would have been unacceptable. So he didn't testify to that. Now he's saying in retrospect, he understands how others that have testified already, others saw that Burisma meant Biden, but he didn't make that. I guess he didn't make that connection. He saw a distinction between Biden and Burisma. Now, okay, there's just one thing I got to say about this. Okay, just one thing. On July 10th, Gordon Sondland talks about the investigation to a Ukrainian official at the White House. The investigation is about Burisma. According to Volker, I believe Biden's name was not addressed. It was about Burisma. Okay, so let's say that he doesn't know what Burisma means. I mean, a simple Google search will tell you exactly what it means and how it's connected to Joe Biden and specifically Hunter Biden. But let's say
he's an ambassador.
Yeah, he's an ambassador. Yeah, to Ukraine.
He's an ambassador to Ukraine.
Yeah, or special envoy to Ukraine.
Special envoy to Ukraine.
But they do call him ambassador.
But
still,
like you're saying, like even if he didn't know about Burisma, which this goes back to 2014. All right, come on. All right, now let's say he didn't. All right, didn't run the simple Google search, didn't ask anybody about it. That was July 10th. About 2 weeks later, President Trump is on the phone with President Zelensky, and he mentions the Bidens and Burisma.
wouldn't that have cleared things up for you? Now, again, if you didn't know about it on July 10th, if you didn't make that pairing, if you didn't make that connection then, you know what? I'll absolve you myself.
You're giving him
I'll give you a pass.
Okay.
But on July 25th, you definitely would have known, oh shit, Burisma means Biden. Oh man. So when he testified, that's where I'm going is, when he testified the first time, he would have already made the connection in his head that Burisma meant Biden. So if he had to have made that connection, given his own experience, then why didn't you testify to it in October?
Because he knew. Because he actually did make the connection, and he was just trying to, I guess, you know what? Not only did he know about the connection, I think he knew about the back channel.
Of course he did.
So if he didn't know about the back channel and he heard the word Burisma being used, then I can understand why he wouldn't make that connection. But I think at that moment, at that time, he knew what Burisma was, and he knew there was a back channel. So he couldn't say anything. That's the only reason why he wouldn't say anything. I can understand him not saying anything if the word Burisma was brought up. But the only reason why he wouldn't say anything at that point, probably because he knew about the back channel, and then all that stuff would blow up.
Yep.
And he probably didn't want any part of that. He probably didn't want any part of that.
So look, that's the only clip that we have because, again, the testimony was still going on when we did begin this program. I did see that there was a break. There was a break after that 45-minute period in which the chairman and ranking member were able to ask questions along with their counsel. And then there was an extension onto that as well, because they can give themselves actually Adam Schiff can give extensions to their own time. So there was another 15-minute period in which Adam Schiff did challenge Volker about why he did not testify to knowing about this comment that Sondland made on July 10th. And he's just trying to say, oh, well, hey, I didn't know. I forgot, what helped kind of refresh that memory is the testimony of others. And I still didn't understand that Burisma meant Biden. So I'm just going to act like I'm ignorant. So, excuse me. I'm sure that there's going to be more that we probably missed that we might get to at a later date. We might not. Just depends on how much gets out there. I did want to just mention the two goons. One of the two goons, Ukrainian Americans, that have been arrested because of an illegal campaign donation.
To who? To where?
It would be President Trump.
Trump PAC?
Yeah, a Trump PAC. Yeah. But
PAC.
Trump uses his own money, though. He's not bought.
Self-funded.
Yeah. But it seems as though one of those guys, Lev Parnas, I believe, there's been some reports that he wants to testify in this impeachment inquiry, which would probably be bad news for Trump. But the reason why, the reason that is being attributed to him now wanting to testify and testify really against Trump about what he knows is because what did Trump say right after these two fine gentlemen were arrested?
Man, I don't know this dude. I ain't never met this dude ever, man. I take pictures with a lot of people.
Yeah. Don't know him.
He pretty much, I wouldn't say he threw him under the bus, but it was like, it was kind of like
dissociation.
Yeah, he just disassociated himself.
I don't know those guys.
I don't know those guys.
So it's being reported that, at least Lev Parnas feels a particular type of way about this, feels insulted. There was even a report saying that after a meeting with Trump, he talked about him being on a secret mission for Trump.
So he felt
there's
special.
A lot of, yeah.
He felt special, and he
yeah.
thought that Trump would back him up. Once he, found himself indicted and arrested, but Trump didn't. And so when Trump just tossed him to the side, just like a used rag doll.
That's correct. That's correct. And now he feels
he feels some kind of way.
Yeah,
he feels some kind of way. He's like, you know what? You know. And now he's like, okay, all right.
That's what you want to do, huh?
That's what you want to do.
Okay, I
I'm
got
like,
you.
I was like, he's not going down. He's not going down for
alone.
you.
Not
alone, at least.
Not
and
alone.
it's not only bad for Donald Trump. It's probably bad for Rudy Giuliani too.
Yeah, I think.
But I mean, what are the chances? Like, how much longer can Trump deny he knew these two dudes? Especially seeing as they were not just seen at multiple events, but they were seen communicating at multiple events, not just taking pictures. Like one case was like a dinner, and another case was some sort of like holiday party somewhere. I can't.
believe so.
It's like I don't know what exactly what the celebration was, but it was like a holiday party. So like, what are the chances? How much longer can Trump just deny that he knew these two dudes? And what state did they do business in? What state was that they were doing business in?
The Sunshine State.
The Sunshine State.
Florida.
Florida.
Where Trump just moved to, right? He just moved
Florida.
down. Yeah, he just moved down to Florida.
Yeah. He
That's
just
right.
moved down to Florida,
That's
and
right.
that's where one of Trump's major properties is, too. What are the chances?
All coincidences.
All coincidences.
All coincidences. One other thing, and then we're going to get off this impeachment thing and talk about a couple other things. On Saturday, or actually, no, I believe this was on Friday. These days are, I don't know. I believe it was either Friday night or Saturday. I believe it was Friday night, or maybe Friday day. But anyway, we learned on Wednesday from Ambassador Bill Taylor's testimony that there was an aide of his that overheard a conversation that Ambassador Gordon Sondland had on the phone with President Donald Trump. And this was one day after the conversation that President Trump had with President Zelensky on July 25th. So it was at a restaurant on July 26th that this aide, and reportedly there were other people as well, overheard Gordon Sondland talking on the phone to President Trump. So he actually testified behind closed doors about what he experienced. So a lot of his, I guess a lot of his remarks have been made public. So according to him, and the guy's name is David Holmes. Yeah, David Holmes. So David Holmes, who, again, this is somebody that is a career professional, career diplomat, somebody that's worked in government for a while and seems to have this impeccable record, somebody that's who is a nonpartisan. But what he heard, or what he has stated, is that on that day they were at a restaurant, and Gordon Sondland got onto the phone with President Donald Trump. The reason why he knew it was President Donald Trump is because Trump was talking so loud, or I guess the volume was so loud that he could hear him. The phone was not on speaker, but Gordon Sondland was holding the phone away from his ear because it was so loud. So you could clearly make out that it was President Trump, and you could actually hear what he was saying. So what David Holmes attests to is that Gordon Sondland talks about the investigations with Trump, and he talks about how the Ukrainian president Zelensky, quote, loves your ass. he's talking to Trump. And what I like about this, though, is how the media is reporting this.
Yeah, because it's like the emphasis matters. When
Yes.
like the emphasis and like
my gosh.
the gap between loves your ass,
Yes.
and the emphasis on how you people.
I said it right. See, President
Yo,
Zelensky
man.
loves your ass, man. See, that's the way it's saying. He loves your ass, man. But the way the media is saying it is loves your ass. And so, like, when I saw that, and I saw the headline, and I heard them saying, I was like, well, that's got to be wrong. Because that wouldn't make sense.
And like
if he loved his ass.
So people started sharing that photo where Trump is playing tennis and hitting that ball like that, and they like Photoshop
my
Zelensky's head and like a weird expression in there. It was like, oh man.
See, what I thought it was just a misspelling. I thought it was loves your ass. Cause that
I thought it was
sense.
too. When I said, I was like, oh, that's just.
Sense.
I was like, that's just like maybe a misinterpretation.
Right. But
I thought because I thought he was talking about ask.
Yeah,
like,
because the ask of the
investigation. Oh, he likes
yeah.
it. And I was like, oh, he's talking about ask. I was like, oh, he said ass.
No,
but still, like, it's just a very emphatic. Yeah, he really likes you.
Yeah, that's what he said. Loves your ass, man.
Man, he loves your ass.
Not he loves your ass. That's funny. But anyway, but that's what Gordon Sondland was saying. This was a day after the conversation between Trump and Zelensky. So then he he said that Zelensky was going to do whatever Trump wanted him to do. So that meant that I guess the investigation was good. And see, what's important here too is that this wasn't something new, and we really have to kind of emphasize that fact. This wasn't the first time that Zelensky was being apprised of this like investigation.
The phone call
talk.
wasn't the first time, and this kind of shows
this
it.
Goes
this
back
meeting
a
shows
long
it.
time that they knew about the investigations. Months prior to that, they knew about the investigations that President Donald Trump wanted. So that conversation just really solidified it. So there had been a lot of time in between that time to get up to July 25th. And to which he heard directly from Trump that, hey, I need a favor. I need you to do this for me. I need you to launch these investigations. And with Zelensky now, a day later, according to Gordon Sondland, who did have direct communication with Zelensky as well, he's saying that Zelensky loves your ass. He'll do anything for you. So we're good on the investigation.
I think Sondland is actually in that instance where he's on the phone with Trump, is boosting Trump's head up. I think he's kind of, I guess, making it look like everything is like full go. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of whether it is or not. I think he's just trying to, I don't know, make Trump feel better about his agenda going forward. It may be true. You know, maybe Zelensky was saying some of these very flattering things about Trump, but maybe he was doing that because he was trying to like wiggle out of it in some way. Maybe he thought that flattering Trump, it was a kind of a initial way to kind of like wiggle out of having to announce that there are going to be investigations. You know what I'm saying? So he was just trying to be, I guess, diplomatic.
Yeah.
So either this is Zelensky trying to be overly diplomatic, or it was just Sondland trying to like exaggerate these. Either one of those, I can believe.
Yeah, I mean, and you would think that there was probably some exaggeration on Sondland's part because he does have the ear of the president. He wants Trump to believe that he's making moves.
Because he's the point man.
Yeah, he's the point man, and he's the centerpiece in this whole thing. He's facilitating everything. But anyway, so this gets to what, again, David Holmes is overhearing. So he's overhearing this, and reportedly at least two other people heard it as well. So after he gets off the phone with President Trump, David Holmes asks him about what Trump's feelings are about Ukraine. So this is where reportedly, and according to David Holmes, Ambassador Sondland says Trump doesn't give a shit about Ukraine. And he used that language. He said that Trump only cares about the big stuff.
The big stuff.
The big stuff.
What's the big stuff? What's the big stuff? Will?
David Holmes took that to mean the big stuff, and he was communicating with, Gordon Sondland, saying that the big stuff. Well, I guess the big stuff you meaning, the conflict, the ongoing conflict.
Corruption, right?
No. What he said was one of the biggest things that's going on in Ukraine is the conflict that they have with Russia and the Donbass. So that must be what you're talking about. Gordon Sondland was like, nah. I'm not talking about any conflict. I'm not talking about corruption or anything like that. What the big stuff was to Gordon Sondland, according to Gordon Sondland, what the big stuff was to President Trump was the Biden investigation.
That's the big stuff. That's the big stuff? Like, Trump is so vindictive and invested in embarrassing his political opponents that he doesn't actually see how small this actually is, as far as like
petty.
It is petty, like, but we're talking about Trump here, who is small-minded. So this is actually not that big, considering Biden might not be the Democratic nominee.
And then what would it all be for? What would all this be for if Biden doesn't end up the Democratic nominee?
You know what's funny? The funny thing, it's not so funny, but even if Biden was the Democratic nominee, I think Trump is okay. I think he would beat Biden. But maybe Trump wasn't so confident, and maybe he was insecure about really not having significant legislation he could put his name on other than the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. So I think he could beat Biden, but I think he's more afraid of like the debate. And so maybe he was trying to take Biden out again, but
Well,
he should have. Go ahead.
I'll say it kind of differently. I think I was trending in that direction, that Biden would probably lose to Donald Trump if both were the nominees for president. Now that this has been started, I'm not sure about that. I think Biden would actually beat him at this point now. Because public perception is everything, okay? And we know what public perception about this impeachment inquiry is, and even how people view his potential removal from office, in which people are supportive of that. Not just the articles of impeachment being filed, but most people are supportive of removal from office. At this point, this is the highest that has ever been for a president. To support impeachment and to support removal from office, this is higher than Nixon at the time. So,
and we're not even halfway through these impeachment inquiry hearings.
No, we're right at the beginning. This is just we're not. This has not been a full week. This is only the third hearing.
And what if the other shoe drops and it kind of shows some significant wrongdoing? I'm talking about the taxes and the financial records.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, I think I was trending in that direction to say that it was probably a good chance that Biden would lose to Donald Trump. But at this point, I think this puts a bad taste in many people's mouths. And it was so unnecessary. We said during the Mueller investigation that all President Trump had to do was sit on his hands,
keep his mouth
do
shut.
nothing, didn't have to attack anybody, didn't have to get on Twitter and talk about the 13 angry Democrats, didn't have to talk about a witch hunt, didn't have to do anything, didn't have to try to hide anything because there was nothing to hide, right? Didn't have to obstruct the process and try to get people fired. You didn't have to do any of this stuff because there was nothing there.
He's running around like a scared old man.
But see, there was nothing there, and so many people believe that there was nothing there to begin with. So just sit on your hands, don't do anything, just let the process play out. And at the end of the day, Mueller would have said, well, there wasn't enough for me to conclude, or I can't come to that conclusion, or blah, 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 blah. And then it would be dead. It would throw dirt on it. It's over. Nobody has obstruction of justice charges on you. Nobody has none of that. But not only did he do that, just shortly after Mueller testified before Congress, shortly after that, he's on the phone with President Zelensky demanding action with these investigations. It's so ridiculous. But that's Trump, like you say. He's petty, he's small-minded. These are small beefs. And it makes no sense because, again, like you said, Biden might not even be the Democratic nominee. It's ridiculous. All right, so speaking of Biden.
Pretty sure none of y'all heard of this.
Yeah,
none of y'all heard of
this. Probably doesn't really. It probably didn't get on your radar or anything like that. Former vice president and Democratic nominee.
Blasphemy, dog.
Yeah, blasphemy. I was talking about Democrat nominee. Yeah. Former vice president Joe Biden and Democratic candidate. He has a certain belief on marijuana. I don't think it's not really news to anybody. I think what would have been news is if he changed his position. But he hasn't, which is also news as well. I guess in this vein, it's surprising and also not surprising. Given that this is 2019 and what we know about marijuana and this and that, But Biden, I believe he was in Nevada, and this was a campaign event in which there were people in the audience that were asking questions of him, and one of those questions was about if Biden supported the legalization of marijuana, and this is how Biden responded.
First question is, has your stance on recreational marijuana changed? And my second question is, do you mind signing a poster for me and my mom?
I'll be happy to sign a poster when this is over. And no, it hasn't changed. I think states should be able to make a judgment to legalize marijuana. I agree with it. I think that's okay. But let me tell you, the truth of the matter is, there's not nearly been enough evidence that has been acquired as to whether or not it is a gateway drug. It's a debate. And I want a lot more, before I legalize it nationally, I want to make sure we know a lot more about the science behind it. That's why I want to move it from a Schedule 2 drug, a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3, so you can in fact do this. I support use of medical marijuana, but here's the deal. Ladies and gentlemen, anybody who's been convicted, it should not be a crime. It should be, to the extent that it exists, and anyone ever been convicted of the use of marijuana and put in jail, they should be immediately released. Their record should immediately be expunged, immediately. And here's the deal. It is not irrational to do more scientific investigation to determine, which we have not done significantly enough, whether or not there are any things that relate to whether it's a gateway drug or not. I don't know enough to know whether it is, although I've done a great deal of work on the drug side of this issue. So it should not be a crime. It should be a civil penalty to the extent that it exists in states that don't choose to legalize. And nationally, I'm not prepared to push for the legalization. Medical marijuana, yes, but the legalization of marijuana for recreational use, in fact, is one that I need more data to make that judgment. But no one should go to jail for it, period.
He just needs more data, man.
Just more data.
Come on, man. Don't you can't criticize him too harshly. He just needs more data. Everybody can use more data. Take that for data.
I don't know, man. I might have to step away from the let the madness begin crowd. And you on this one, man. I might have to agree with Joe Biden. I know that comes as a surprise, probably to you, probably the audience. But I actually do believe that marijuana is a gateway drug. Just not the gateway that he's talking about.
Right.
I think it's a gateway to honey buns, pizza,
cookies,
and Doritos.
Cookies.
Yeah. So I do think it's a gateway drug. Maybe a gateway drug to the couch.
Definitely the couch.
And quite possibly a gateway drug to the stratosphere.
It's definitely a gateway to sleep.
Sleep, yeah, exactly. So technically, he's right, but not in the right way. It's just he's going in the wrong direction. So it's a gateway to some things, but not in the way he's talking about. But on a serious note, the criminalization of marijuana use is a gateway to mass incarceration.
Oh, yeah.
That primarily affects whom?
Yeah, people of color.
Yeah.
And it has been that gateway to mass incarceration for many years, which, yeah, he's been supportive of that too.
He's been
supportive of that whole thing. Yeah, he's been supportive of mass incarceration.
So the fact
prison
that
industrial complex.
So the fact that he still holds this position tells me he's not really that serious about criminal justice reform.
Well, hey,
because he constantly emphasized that he's against recreational use. He's for medical marijuana use, but to me, I think legalizing recreational use should be the foundation for any politician that is taking criminal justice reforms seriously. I think we did highlight his criminal justice plan that he released in June or July. Now in that speech where he was touting his plan, he mentioned it in that speech too, where he called for eliminating penalties of marijuana possession and expunging records. But in that same speech, he said that he'd let states decide. But he just said decide on recreational use, which to me makes sense because most of the people who are in jail are in for recreational use, right? So he's going to expunge the records, right, of people who are in jail, mostly because of recreational use, but he's going to let states decide whether to prosecute people for recreational use. He's essentially undercutting his own plan. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it does not.
He's kneecapping his own plan.
I want people to really consider how ridiculous Biden's words are. Biden said that he's not quite sure yet if marijuana is a gateway drug. A gateway drug to, I guess, other harsh drugs. We've heard this narrative before. So you're not quite certain that marijuana is not a gateway drug. So recreational use, that's off the table unless we can get some more research, some more scientific research, right? But if it's possible that marijuana is a gateway drug, wouldn't it be a gateway drug for the people that use it for medicinal purposes?
As well?
As well.
Because he's for that.
He's for medical marijuana. If the people that have a license, have some type of permit to get medical marijuana, wouldn't that be a gateway for them to try harder drugs as well? It wouldn't have to, because it makes absolutely no sense. Either it doesn't matter if you're using it for fun or using it to alleviate pain. It could still be, if it actually is possible that it's a gateway drug, it could still lead to those negative outcomes in which you're trying cocaine now, or you're trying bath salts, I guess, because it's going to lead to harsher drugs.
Crocodile. Remember that little crocodile craze, crocodile scare?
It's ridiculous. This is all wild. We're living in a world where alcohol is legal. Alcohol, which we know alcohol has led to many, many deaths. Not just when you're on alcohol, when you're drunk, when you're inebriated, and you maybe start driving, or maybe you whatever, because of the effects of it, you do something stupid and that leads to your death.
Bar fights.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about just that. I'm talking about the actual effects that it has to your body as well.
Domestic abuse.
Yes, but there are actual effects to one's body that can lead to death given how much you drink. We know that as fact. We have scientific research. We have a lot of case studies. What can anybody point to about marijuana that has led to the death of a human being? I'm talking about internally, something that the marijuana, the cannabis, actually caused your body to do, and you died now. I'm my running count, because I have a running count of this, right? And I'm all the way up to 0. I'm all the way up to 0 right now.
0 is a number.
It is a number.
It's technically a number.
Yeah, but it's 0 though.
It's data.
Yeah,
it's a stat.
Yeah, it is.
But isn't it weird how Biden respects and trusts the science when it comes to climate change, but is totally ignoring the science when it comes to the myth of marijuana being a gateway drug? There's no scientific data that backs up that claim.
No, but there is scientific research. There is reality in the fact that alcohol kills people, but nothing. There's no effort from Joe Biden to be like, oh, we need to take a second look at this. We need to find out if this is a gateway drug. We need to find out if this is killing people. We got to put this on pause. No, like we could have already had this discussion. Actually, we could have had all the scientific research in the world on marijuana and its causes if a president could just simply deschedule it. If a president could use their administration, direct their DEA to take it from Schedule 1 to something else. Deschedule it. But see, this was Joe Biden now. And you know how we hear, Joe Biden is running for president right now. I don't know if anybody's heard that. But many times we've heard that Joe Biden had so much responsibility as the VP in the Obama administration, and he was tasked with doing so much important stuff.
He got things done.
Important works now, important works. And he had the autonomy to do this, right? Okay, Obama just handed him all the tough problems to go out there and solve. Okay, all right. So for 8 years, you're in the Obama White House, and that administration, which you're such an integral figure of, that administration does not deschedule marijuana whatsoever. It's at Schedule 1, which means that there is no medicinal benefit whatsoever. There's no benefit for it for a human being. It's only toxic, really. That's it. You didn't do nothing about that. You have always supported the idea that this is possibly a gateway drug. You have always supported the idea of locking people up because of it. Now you're running for president. You've backed off that. Oh no, we shouldn't lock people up because of this. No, it should be a civil penalty. But we still need more research. The research I could have advocated for, given those 8 years I was in the White House with President Barack Obama, but I didn't do that.
But is that much of a consolation now? It's only going to be a civil penalty. That's what he was trying to present in that case. He was like, hey, I may not agree with recreational use, and I may just only agree with medicinal use, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of decriminalize it and just make it a civil penalty, as if that's not going to be abused either. That's the thing that's what bothers me about his position there, not just the whole gateway drug thing, but the fact that he thinks like a civil penalty is much better.
Like what kind of example? Like what type of, if it's a fine, how large can the fine be?
How large can the fine be? And again, that's not going to stop people from being profiled. People are still going to be targeted, and they're going to be given tickets. I mean, depending on how much the ticket is, that may put them in debt. Then, what if they don't pay the ticket? Are you going to throw them in jail? Now you just put them in jail for, guess what? Marijuana possession.
Exactly. Because that's what it is. If they can't pay it, then yeah, you go to jail, right?
Yeah, you go to jail. I'm pretty sure they're going to kind of create tiers based on how much marijuana is found on the person. So
I
tiers
think
for punishment.
I think he's being somewhat disingenuous. I think he's being. I mean, just I'm getting that feeling. Like my spidey senses is kind of like it's just going on, just firing.
Oh no! I think those
a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. This is just some more like. This is an extension or some leftovers of reefer madness bullshit. It's just kind of directed in a different way. This case is the myth of, marijuana being a gateway drug before it was a gateway drug to black penis, or a gateway drug to that evil devil music, jazz and swing. That's what it was a gateway drug before.
It's 2019. He's talking about this could possibly still be a gateway drug, and we don't know it yet. Oh, that's funny. All right. On Saturday, on Saturday there was an election. We talked about it last week. It was in Louisiana. Saturday's a weird day for an election. I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
I actually like that.
Yeah, I definitely like it.
We know some people do work on Saturdays, but if we're going to choose a day where a lot of people can vote, Saturday would be a perfect day.
I mean, if it's not going to be a federal holiday, then you should probably put it on the weekend to which the most people can actually participate in it. So I don't think I've ever heard of it, but good plan for Louisiana. So this was again the runoff election because the prior election in October. Nobody had achieved over 50% or at least 50% of the vote total. So the two that were competing were the incumbent governor, Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards, and the Republican challenger Eddie Rispone. So Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards won re-election. Why is this significant? Why is this significant?
Did some very important figure insert themselves into another state election?
Yeah. Trump really put a heavy hand on this race.
He had small hands though. So.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I believe he visited the state 3 times, and I believe only I think 2 times in the last week. I believe. So yeah, this was pretty important to President Trump, especially given that Matt Bevin in Kentucky
just lost
and had to concede.
So he needs some redemption. He needs some redemption.
Yeah, he needs some redemption. These are two southern states. So, and these are states that Trump carried in 2016 by over 10 points, I believe. So it would not be a good look if President Trump could not get the win here, because of course his Trumpism is supposed to reach outward. It's supposed to be able to.
It's supposed to, like, I guess,
magically, like, be
transfer. It's supposed to transfer
he's
to
supposed to throw
the
it
candidate.
to other people.
Yeah, it's supposed to
and
transfer
supposed to get the
to
Trumpism.
the candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Trumpism.
And they're supposed to be able to run on that and get people to vote for him because of that Trumpism.
Okay, so they're trying to, like, use another candidate as a proxy to extend Trumpism.
Yeah, yeah.
And that candidate using Trump himself as a proxy.
Yeah. Hey, if you support Trump as president, then hey, here's my guy. Here's my guy. And that's what Trump has been doing ever since he's been in office. But
did it work?
I can't even say it's been mixed results. It's been often bad results for Trump.
Primarily bad results, and it was bad in this case too, because who won?
Yeah, that was John Bel Edwards again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it doesn't look like Trump has the ability to galvanize support for somebody else. And to me, it actually makes a lot of sense, because Trump only has the ability to galvanize support for his damn self.
Yeah.
Because that's who he is. It's not necessarily about his political acumen. It's more about his personality.
People that try to be Trump, it often doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So even if Trump is there trying to kind of, I guess shed some of his Trumpism onto someone else, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It doesn't play out well. Trump is just about himself. He's a narcissist for himself. So he can only, galvanize support for himself. I just don't think he has it in him. He's not that type of person to galvanize support for other people in the same type of support. He would have to, what would actually work, but I don't think it's Trump is capable of doing. He would have to kind of become a person that is beneficial to the candidate. So he would have to kind of tone himself down and not make it about himself. Because in almost every single race he's inserted himself into, what does he do? He makes it about himself. He starts talking about the impeachment, talking about angry Democrats, want to destroy the country, want to destroy what I'm doing. So he makes it about himself every time he inserts himself into a race. If you want to be like an advocate for another candidate or push another candidate to help get them elected, you kind of have to see where they are as a politician and what kind of energy that they bring, and then tone yourself down to that.
You have to sell them.
You have to sell
people,
them,
not you.
But see, you said it. He's trying to sell himself through those people, and he thinks that's going to get them elected because he thinks like he's such a prize, right? And so if I put myself next to this person, they will then associate this candidate with me, the prize, and they will get the votes. But Trump is, again, he's about himself. He's so selfish that he cannot take himself out of something, and he cannot remove himself and actually advocate for another person in general, not just a candidate, but just people in general, people other than himself, or people who are really close to him, like his daughter or his son or his son-in-law. So he gets in these situations where it's time to, okay, let me support this candidate and use this candidate's platform and who this candidate is to promote this person to get elected, and he can't do it because he's not promoting that person.
I think one of the reasons why it doesn't extend to other people too is because people aren't supporting Trump based on what he's actually doing. They're supporting him because of
energy.
Yeah, his energy, his loud, poking out the chest behavior, his lies even. Yeah, his racism, white supremacy, all of that. It's not actually what he's doing for the economy. It's not what he's doing for the middle class, poor people, what he's doing on health care. It's not that, because as we have covered before, things are getting worse. This bubble that is right here, this economy bubble that is present right now, it's going to end up busting. So he's not actually, hold on. He's not actually, I don't think he's really improving the lives of the many. So what people support him for is gonna have to be different than what they support whoever he is trying to endorse for. But he doesn't get that because he is a narcissist. So yeah, bad day for Eddie Rispone. Bad day. Now this is not a ringing endorsement of John Bel Edwards though.
Oh no.
John Bel Edwards is definitely a conservative Democrat. It's not like we are happy with the news that Louisiana gets another 4 years of Edwards.
Didn't we talk about him
Yeah,
before?
we talked, I think, one time before.
His position, or was it on abortion? Was
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
It was
he
his
has
position on abortion?
he has a Republican position on abortion, no doubt.
It was.
So.
I think we were just kind of making fun of the blue no matter who type takes.
Yeah.
And he was a good example of that.
Yeah.
Because he was essentially bending over backwards for the conservative view of, restricting abortions.
Yeah. He's not much different than some Republicans in some things. So again, this is not like we're I am glad that Eddie Rispone didn't win.
But you ain't happy.
Yeah, but I'm not happy that, Louisiana gets another 4 years with John Bel Edwards. I would have much have preferred somebody that is, to the left of him. And damn, if you even go to the left of him just a little bit, I don't even know if you reach the center.
No.
I don't even know if you reach the center yet. I don't even know. So I mean, like it would have been a bad day for Louisiana, anyways. But it would have been worse if Rispone won. So, whatever. Not so good in Trump country. The suburbs, a problem. White people in the suburbs, a problem. A problem.
And
for Trump.
this is what? This is November 19th.
Yeah, man.
November 19th. So we are. We're roughly 357 days away from Election Day. And this is the way it's looking. Less than a year out.
And we are currently going through impeachment inquiry hearings. Tell me where's the good news for Trump.
Your boy is, he is definitely panicking. This is not a good position for Trump to be in on the defensive. Because he's not good either way, but there's a degree of bad that he is. You see what I'm saying? Depending on what he goes through.
Right.
And right now, he's just flailing right now.
Do you think the flailing will get better tomorrow with the testimony of Ambassador Gordon Sondland?
Mm-hmm. Is that a real question?
It might get ugly.
See, no, it's going to be ugly, but with Trump, his ugly is just ridiculously laughable, though.
Ugh.
It's insulting, but it becomes funny because it just doesn't make sense, and it's I think you brought that up for a reason, not just because it's tomorrow, but it'd be hard to cast Sondland as somebody who's a never Trump. That's what's interesting about his testimony tomorrow. It's going to be hard to cast him as a never Trumper. Now, why is that?
Well, because, I mean, among other things, Gordon Sondland is not some career diplomat. No, he was in the hotel business, I believe, right? A hotel magnate.
Real estate.
Yeah, real estate, right? Yeah.
Kind of just like Trumpy.
Yeah.
Kind of just like Trump.
So yeah, he wasn't like a real diplomat. But when
how did he get that position?
When Trump got elected and was the president-elect Trump, Gordon Sondland donated $1 million to his inaugural committee.
A million.
Yeah. T.I. million. Yeah. $1 million. And then something that's not connected to this, not connected to that $1 million. After Trump actually took office, he appointed Gordon Sondland to be the ambassador to the EU. But that was separate. That was separate of the $1 million. Because I mean, like somebody that's not been a diplomat ever, and then he give you $1 million, and then you appoint him to be an ambassador, that has no connection whatsoever. So I don't want anybody getting carried away and feeling like these things are, connected or anything like that. But yeah, also, just the things that we have heard as well from other people that have been testifying about how central Gordon Sondland's involvement has been, and how he's really been the one, you said point person. He's been the one really driving this thing. So
firing Yovanovitch gave my man just a little more space.
Yeah. So to kind of make him out to be a never Trumper would definitely be difficult. I don't know if that's going to be the effort. I don't know.
They're going to see. They have to go somewhere.
They got to go somewhere.
From up to this point, Republicans have always had something. Donald Trump has always had something, like as a way to deflect from these fact witnesses, right? So I'm trying to figure out where would they go with Sondland.
They've had some time to kind of.
They got some time.
They got some time.
The only, well, I think they're going to use all these witnesses as a kind of a platform to present their conspiracies. That's already been on display. It doesn't matter who they're asking who's getting the questions asked or who's asking the questions. They probably have to call him a spy. They probably have to call him a spy. They're going to have to call him a spy. That's because you can't call him a never Trumper.
You can't.
That wouldn't make any sense. You have to go to something else.
They would look absolutely. I mean, they've already looked ridiculous calling these others never Trumpers, but this particular guy,
they would have to call him a spy. They're going to have to say that he was behind all of it. It was him. He was behind all of it.
But Trump put him in place to do it, though.
Trump.
See, really, I mean, one of the most pressing questions that I have dealing with or concerning what's going to happen tomorrow is he going to actually testify and answer every single question? Because if he answers every single question and answers it truthfully, then it will expose that he definitely lied. There's no way to, I know he already came back and amended his deposition and said that, based on some other testimony, I recalled some other, and I actually did communicate the quid pro quo. So I forgot that. He's going to have to come out as a liar. And see, so that's the pressing question, because if he does do that, he would be opening himself up to criminal prosecution because he already lied under oath. So now, if the Democratic Party gives him immunity, because they can do that, if they give him immunity, then it will open him up to actually take a sigh and just say, "Hey, I'm not going down for this." Okay, so I'm gonna have to tell the truth.
So not only did he screw up the first time, he put himself in a position to where Democrats can actually put in a recommendation for an indictment because he lied.
And there's multiple people testifying that has the same story. They have the same story, and they're putting Sondland in these same positions, saying the same things. If he somehow says, "Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't do that."
So it's not. See, okay, you bring up the other fact witnesses. They don't give an indication that. Well, they do give an indication that he lied, but Sondland himself gives an indication that he lied by changing his testimony, amending his testimony. He is telling us that he lied the first time. He's also telling the Democrats that are part of these committees that he lied. So me thinks that they can hold that over his head and be like, "Yo, you got to come clean in this your public testimony, or we can take your first lies very seriously." Because right now, Sondland is in a bind.
Oh, he's in a real
bind because we already know he lied the first time. Well, he lied the first time.
He lied the second time too, though.
Okay, he lied the second time. But so I'm trying to figure out how Republicans are going to attack it. Are they going to say, "Well, you lied. Were you telling the truth, or were you lying the first time?" First of all, no one would change their testimony unless it was lies. If it was truthful the first time, he wouldn't have changed it. No. So they can't say that he's lying about amending the lie. Like, you're lying about a lie. There's no way they can present that case.
No, it wouldn't ring true whatsoever. But yeah, like you said, he did lie the first time. He lied the second time in at least one area, because given that he said, yes, I communicated to Yermak, who is President Zelensky's top aide, I believe. He told him that everything was contingent on these investigations being announced. That meant the meeting between the presidents, and that also meant the security assistance. So that I don't believe is a lie, because again, it seems that that's truthful based on the other testimony that we have seen. But where he did lie, or at the very least did not tell the whole truth, he said that he didn't know how he came to the information that all of this was contingent on the investigations. He said some way, somehow, that was communicated to him, but he didn't say how and who actually told him that. Oh, he's going to have to address that, because nobody is buying that he just, maybe one day he was sitting on a bench and then somebody threw him a letter, right? And he's like, oh, damn, where that? Well, I'll pick it up. Okay. But it's all contingent on the investigations. Now I know.
But then he would have
somebody told him.
But he would have to. Okay, we gotta take it. We gotta take it from there.
You gotta take it further than that.
We gotta take it further than that, because not only would he have to receive this letter out of nowhere, just falling out of the sky, he would then have to take this letter and follow anonymous instructions. You know what? That sounds good. I might do that. You see what I'm saying?
So that would mean that he took unverified information, was like, oh, well, this is the truth.
I got to do this.
Nobody's believing this.
I have to coordinate this unilaterally on my own, because this anonymous letter told me so. So it either has to be an anonymous letter.
Something like that.
Something. Or maybe it was an anonymous voice.
He knows exactly where he got this information from.
That wouldn't make any sense.
He knows exactly where he's going to have to testify to it.
This is not.
If he doesn't, he opens himself up for prosecution.
This is not like a regular errand.
Nah.
This is not a regular errand. It's not like regular activity.
You would remember that.
It's not like,
Who told you to extort President Zelensky in Ukraine? I don't know. I don't know how I got that information. I just got it.
That's not something you would forget. They're not asking him hey, who ordered donuts for that meeting on May 5th? You're not going to remember that.
No. Also, David Holmes, his testimony the day after at the restaurant, and what he heard. Is he going to say that David Holmes was lying? And if he says that David Holmes is lying, again, it's been reported that there were 2 other people that overheard the conversation as well. These are all pressing questions, and what is Gordon Sondland going to do? So we're going to see that tomorrow, Wednesday. Might be ugly, but yeah, we might see that. And then also tomorrow, I don't know, there are other people testifying tomorrow too, I believe, but I don't remember who else is testifying. I would think that Gordon Sondland would be testifying by his damn self. I would think so.
Oh, no. Because I think
every question is going to have to be for him.
There's going to be a lot of questions directed at him, obviously more so than everybody else, seeing as he is, well, he's not the central figure. The central figure is Trump. But as far as fact witnesses concerning this Trump-Ukraine extortion debacle, yeah, he is the central figure.
Yeah. On Wednesday, it's going to be 9 a.m., Gordon Sondland, devoted entirely to him. So, yeah, he's not going to be testifying with anybody else.
You know what?
It's only going to be him.
I don't think they wanted anybody seated next to him. I don't think people, you know what?
Just a distraction.
I doubt that anybody wanted to be sitting next to him.
All right. But then there is going to be another hearing after that, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, of course. Laura Cooper, who is an official at the Defense Department, and David Hale, the Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs. So they're going to be testifying together. I'm assuming they will pale in comparison
to Sondland. There's going to be a lot of attention on Sondland.
Yes. I know that a lot of this stuff is exhausting, and look, we're going to have to, after the show tomorrow too, kind of, go back and see what we missed, because that hearing didn't end before the show started here. But yeah, it's going to be like that for some time. There's going to be more and more witnesses, and given more and more testimony, more people might be called to testify based on the testimony of others, just to at least contradict somebody or support a narrative. So I don't see this thing ending it's probably going to be weeks before this is actually over, and then the Democratic Party vote on articles of impeachment, because I do believe it's going to get to that point. I do believe that. And then later on Wednesday is the next Democratic debate. So it's going to be a full day. It's going to be a full day. I believe the Democratic debate starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think
so.
And I think it's on MSNBC.
Yeah, because I think Rachel Maddow is one of the hosts.
Okay.
I
One of the
think.
moderators.
I could be wrong. Yeah, moderators.
Okay.
Could
Okay.
be wrong, though.
So yeah, we'll be paying attention to all of that, and have some analysis for you on Thursday. I don't know how we're gonna try to. I don't even know how we're gonna try to fit all that in. I have no idea. I assume that Sondland is going to be. I'm assuming there's going to be a bevy of information to discuss. Then also the Democratic. We'll do our best. We do want to. This is not a story. Okay, this is not a story, but we have a few video clips that we want to show you.
Maybe they should stop drinking. If you're drinking something, maybe you should stop. Maybe you should, if you're munching on something, like little snacks or something, like pretzels, chips, crackers, anything that could be lodged in your throat, like can get lodged in your throat easily. Soft foods are okay, all right?
It's like that?
Yeah, but, we advise you stop snacking, stop eating. Just for precautionary purposes.
Yeah. There's a thing going on. There's a thing that's happening.
There's a thing going on.
There's a thing going on.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, there's a thing going on. We have talked about it one other time. And it's concerning a certain Democratic presidential candidate, the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, Pete Buttigieg. So there's a thing going on, not specifically with him, but with his supporters. There's a little...
Campaign organizers have come up with a trendy little dance number.
Little jig.
Little dance number.
Little jig that they do.
To kind of bring attention to Pete Buttigieg's campaign and maybe try to galvanize some support. Probably to young people, because I'm pretty sure some old people might, be attracted to this, but you can tell whatever audience they're trying to appeal to, they're trying to do it in a fun way.
They're trying to do it in a fun way.
They're trying to do it in a fun way.
Yeah.
And most human beings, when music comes on, they like to dance. Or, there's particular dances for particular songs. I think people of all ages kind of participate in stuff like that. So it just seems like it's something that the campaign is trying to, I guess a societal norm that they're trying to tap into. So they're trying to get into the dance craze it always exists in society. So I see where they're going.
You see where they're going?
I definitely see where they're going. I see it, but it's just not hitting for me.
It's not hitting for you?
It's not hitting for me.
Not hitting for you?
No, it's not hitting for me.
All right, okay. Well, we'll see if it's hitting for anybody that's watching. there's a couple videos here that we have for you. So
There's two
of them, couple.
So we gotta, hit you off with a bonus.
And we're only doing this so that you can get extremely nauseated.
Acquainted. He meant to say acquainted.
Acquainted.
He meant to say acquainted.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Okay, let me see if this is gonna work. If we can put our, because it might be in the way. Hold up, no. Yeah, it might be in the way.
I think they see enough people. We don't need to see all of them.
Oh, we can put ourselves.
My
up
shirt
like
look
that.
funny. I'm glistening. It look like I'm glistening. I'm glistening, son.
Yeah, because it's small. Cause
it's small. Yeah, the white lines are small.
But yeah, we have a
glistening.
couple. Just bear with me just for 1 second here. I'm trying to get these these hot these hot new fresh these dance moves, you know what I'm saying, that's like it's going everywhere, go across the country, you know what I'm saying, everywhere. You're gonna be seeing this in the clubs, you're gonna be seeing it everywhere, right? All right, so which one you want to start with, that one or
Let's
that
start
one?
with this one because
This
that's a
one right
smaller audience, so we
That's
got to
true.
build up to the big audience.
You gotta
man.
build up.
Gotta
Okay,
build up.
all right, so if you have not already seen it, this is the
well, we don't know what it is. What is it? I don't care because I never even looked up the name, but you call it something.
I call it the Buddha Judge Bop, or the Buddha Judge Boogie,
Buddha Judge Boogaloo,
the Buddha Judge Bounce, the Booty Bop,
the Booty Bop,
the Booty Bop,
Booty Judge.
Yeah, they call it the High Hopes dance. Whew, here we go. Here we go.
When someone laughs at their own joke and it's not good, I mean, it's not good at all, right? You see how they were just applauding and hyping themselves up after that? That's what it seemed like.
They're proud.
They're proud of that.
They're proud of themselves. That's a problem. That's a problem. To feel proud of yourself in that moment is a problem.
Is this worse than the DNC song? Remember the DNC song?
I think it's infinitely worse.
Because there's a dance to it. Not only is there a dance to it, the dance is not that hype.
No. The whole DNC thing, the song that they did for Hillary Clinton, in which they had celebrities singing to it, the idea really wasn't so bad. I think it was the wrong candidate. It was the wrong candidate. The message was all off because of the candidate.
How did it go?
Don't make me remember. Because whenever I hear that, it's always going to be about her now. So, nah. But yeah, they had the wrong candidate. The idea, I don't believe, was wrong. But given it was Hillary Clinton, yeah, it didn't work. I don't think it worked. But this, like you said, they have a dance. They have a dance, and they're celebrating each other after they work, if you can call it work. All right, so we have the next one. Oh my.
It's a little complicated, all tied up, no more love, and I hate to see you waiting. Had to have
understand the point. What is the point of this?
High hopes. High hopes is the point. Remember, it's called the high hopes dance. So the dance is supposed to, like,
to boost their spirits.
Boost the spirits, raise the spirits for the campaign, because Buttigieg is about offering high hopes to the American people as a presidential candidate, and there's a dance to it. There's a dance to it. I mean,
I said this the last time we covered this. We showed one video of this. I guess that was the intro, because he was the guy was instructing people on how to do it.
So now more people are learning, and it's
yes,
spreading.
They've already
It's spreading.
And it's popping up in different corners of the United States. But I said it then. Panic at the Disco, which is the band responsible for the song. I don't know why we haven't already seen it, but there needs to be a cease and desist letter immediately. I mean, it should have went out several days ago. I don't know why we haven't, because this is completely unacceptable.
I wouldn't want this dance attached to my song.
No.
And I wouldn't want any dance. Matter of fact, I wouldn't want any dance attached to my political candidate. If I find out, and if Bernie Sanders' campaign comes out with anything like this,
oh gosh, no, don't do it. Please don't.
Please don't do it.
Please don't do it, because
we don't want to have to clown you.
Yeah, we will have to.
We
will have to though, because you remember what's LTMB about, man? Anybody can get it. We you know what? We should just probably erase the entirety of our like mission statement.
Oh, true that.
And just say anybody can get it.
You know what? There was a few instances, right, where I was looking at the dance and I was like, you know what? They could have did like a more modern version of whatever moves that they were doing to appeal to a wider audience. Wider. And you know what I mean when I say wider. I mean more people, a more diverse group. Because that dance they did, I'm not sure who that was supposed to appeal to. Again, there was a few instances where you could incorporate dances that are more modern. And I'm not saying like up to date, at least within the last 5 years.
No. See, for it to be attributed to Buttigieg, I think it somewhat had to be new.
Because he's young?
Yeah. But it would have had to be something that you would find in the clubs too, though.
Clubs, true that. But
you would have had to find this in the, like, it would have been acceptable for like it would have to have some element of cool to it. Like, okay, this is actually something, man. I can get with this. Okay, I might actually break this out on the floor.
Maybe they could have at least gotten with some artists. Maybe.
Some
artists, maybe.
This is sad. This is sad.
They could have at least done like a Nene or something. Even though that's like 5 years old.
But then you corrupt an already established dance. You just completely. This was not one of my favorite songs in the world, or anything. You know, I was familiar with the song. I wouldn't say it was like, again, not like one of my favorites or anything like that. But now, whenever I hear it, I think about the dance. That annoys me.
Lisa in the chat called it the white nano.
The white nano.
Like a nene is a nano.
We did see in the first video there was.
No, we didn't.
Yeah,
You're lying.
Yeah.
You're lying.
No.
Stop it.
There was a woman of color towards the right hand side of the screen.
Not anymore.
There was a woman of color, and she's having fun.
She's barred from the cookouts until further notice. She's barred from all cookouts.
You know, the worst part is the wave. That's the worst part.
The wave? Which one? The one
when they finish up their
that's right.
Whatever they do, and then that's the worst part for me.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst part for me. Why would you do this? Why would you do this, man? I don't know.
That's a good. Well, I don't think she's trying to make it a name. Moose Gal said bye, Mayor Pete. I think she's referencing NSYNC. But then you can call the dance the bye Buttigieg. That's what it's doing to me. I mean, I never would have supported him anyway, but yeah.
What if they did like a? It still would be so whack. But if they were gonna do something like that because there's a dance to that, you know, whatever like that, right? If they did that, and you know, because he wants to overtake Biden. What if they were doing that to Biden?
Bye, Biden. No.
I didn't have the lyrics yet.
You know, but those were going to be the lyrics. Where else were you going to go? I know that was. I know where you were going with that.
It would have been better than this. It would have been better than this.
Is this? You know what?
It would have definitely been better than this.
But we will say, let's put it into context of other kind of whack campaign agendas. Is this, what's worse, this or Kamala dancing with the band?
No, this is worse. No, it's not. I'm offended that you even no.
Why? Because at least the band was on beat,
Yes.
and the band was playing like they were, I like bands, but Kamala's like, I guess inclusion was like it was whack.
So that's just normal whack.
That's normal whack.
That's normal. When she was preparing for the debate and she was like dancing to Cardi B, she was rapping to Cardi B. That was just normal whack. This is on another level.
Oh, because they put a lot of effort into it. They put a lot of effort into this being.
There was
being this
actually
whack.
an instructional. Like he was on top of the truck
and
instructing people on how to do it.
And are they doing this in front of a crowd of supporters? It doesn't look like it.
They are the crowd of supporters.
It doesn't look like it. They all had Buttigieg shirts on, most of them. So I'm like, are they even doing this in front of a crowd of supporters?
That's why I asked. Well, who are they doing it for? What is the point?
Personally, I hope they're not doing it in front of a crowd of supporters because I essentially fear for their lives because I think that they would just die of just disappointment. They would die. They were like, "Yo, what are y'all trying to do here?"
What I know is that Pete Buttigieg better not have any ideas here.
Oh, he better not try to do this at the damn next debate. That's what I.
No. I wouldn't even think about that. My gosh, that would be horrible.
If he like.
No. I'm thinking about because you remember President Trump. I remember the little girls.
Oh
dancing at a
yeah,
campaign
like they were
rally.
dressing like red, white, and blue dresses.
Yes, I remember that. I'm talking about Pete Buttigieg better not get any ideas and trot out some fans, some supporters,
some dancers
to dance this thing at the beginning or the end of a rally. Oh my God.
Maybe he'll put something out on his campaign website. It's like, if you want to, I guess, volunteer, apply to be a High Hopes dancer, contact your local Pete Buttigieg campaign office.
Somebody needs to contact Panic at the Disco.
Cease and desist, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm disgusted, but I don't know if I'm disgusted enough to send them a letter. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody's got to be disgusted enough to say, what the hell are you doing, Panic at the Disco? You're letting your song be appropriated by this crap.
I guess Buttigieg is not such a divisive character where cease and desist would be, I guess, issued. Because like with Trump is such a divisive character. It represents certain negative things that they...
No. He doesn't have to be a divisive character. The dance.
Oh, the dance.
The dance is objectionable. It's that objectionable.
To what percentage of people, though?
Hopefully 98%.
Yeah.
Hopefully 98%. Hopefully these are like the 2% of people that would actually enjoy something like this.
The DNC, this is our fight song. That's what it was.
See, you had to.
I had to. Because it was in my head. I was like, I got to figure I can't remember. We did a video on it making fun of it when it came out. This is our fight song.
See, again, wrong candidate. Wrong. It's not a bad song. Not a bad song. It's a bad song now. Wrong candidate.
Where do you go from there, though? Where do you go from the DNC fight song? Because, I mean...
I don't know. They'll have something.
Yeah, they'll have something.
All right, look, it's approaching 10. We're going to cut out calls for tonight, all right?
Yeah, because we still have not resolved the issues with the software. That allows us to hear the calls through the application, through the software.
And it's getting late. And we'll definitely take some calls on Thursday because I'm sure people will have something to say about maybe the debate, the entirety of these impeachment hearings, maybe specifically Gordon Sondland's testimony. I can't even imagine how that's gonna go. It's gonna be, I think it's gonna be bad for him. I can't. He's either going to have to tell the truth or plead the fifth. If he lies,
either one of them looks bad. Pleading the fifth looks bad.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Like
It does.
Because in that instance, I don't even think it would be about protecting himself. It would be about protecting somebody else. It could be either Donald Trump or Mike Pompeo.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm thinking it's Mike Pompeo is based on Yovanovitch's testimony. Because, I guess word that she got was that there was some friction up at the State Department. Now, the deputy, I think I could be wrong. I can't remember the person's position. I don't want to get it wrong. But it sounded like it was somebody who had contact with Mike Pompeo, who had interactions with Mike Pompeo.
Yeah.
And again, Mike Pompeo was the one who, was in control of who Trump brought on for a lot of these positions.
Mike Pompeo is the one that said he had no knowledge of what was discussed on the phone call too. He had no knowledge
and then
of anything.
Weeks later, it turns out he was on the call.
On the call. Listen, man. Yeah.
Again, if there was nothing wrong with the call, there would be no need to lie. Or if he didn't know what was going on, then there would be no need to lie and say he wasn't on the call.
But the thing is that he's not going to testify though. So he's not going to testify. Pence is not going to testify. There's some question as to whether John Bolton will or not.
Still waiting on that.
Yeah, that ruling from the court. Him and his aide or his deputy. I can't remember his name now.
It's a good name. The Booty Jig.
The Booty Jig.
The Booty Jig. That would have been a great
Booty
name.
Jig.
There was so many great names.
The Booty Jig.
The High Hopes. I guess he couldn't make it about himself, but they could at least like I guess still gave it like an unofficial name that had something to do with his name.
It's so whack too. I mean, it's the name of the song, High Hopes. The High Hopes dance.
Oh, true that. That is he compared it to Trump dancing with Epstein. It's not just the dancing though with Trump. It was his face and his damn thick ass eyebrows. Looked like, what's the damn thing off of Addams Family? What's the thing off of Addams Family? The hair that runs around.
Oh yeah. I don't know what it's called.
That's what Trump's eyebrows look like. And he
slapping women.
He
on
had
their butts.
He had the whole like the
and the face. He was like
cousin it. Yeah, thank you, cousin it.
Yeah, but anyway, I assume that we'll have a lot of content for you on Thursday, and try to get it all. But we appreciate that you're here, that you made it out for tonight's program, and we hope that you will be with us on Thursday as well. Like I said, I don't think you want to miss it. I think there's gonna be a lot to it.
It's gonna be a lot of fireworks.
Yeah, I think so. I just don't. I don't see. I think it would be way too risky for Gordon Sondland to lie. I just don't see that as being one of the options. So either he's gonna say nothing or he's gonna sing like a canary.
My man is gonna sing like a choir of canaries, dog. He gonna sing like a choir of them jokes.
Oh my gosh, man. But anyway, we have super chatters. I also saw there's like some new thing like super stickers or something like that on YouTube. I saw a message about it. I don't know exactly what it is. It said something about super stickers. I don't know. I don't see anything about super stickers right here, but I saw the message. Anyway, we got D Scully. D Scully been watching some LTMB the past few days. Been commenting like, boy, I see the notifications. All right.
Is that a reference to X-Files? Maybe that's just
that's the only Scully I know.
That's the only Scully I know.
But we appreciate your support, D Scully. Been out front. Good seeing you. More cringe, booty jig, or Trump dancing with Epstein. Yeah, we already talked about that.
See, what he's probably trying to asking which one's worse.
Yeah. Probably Epstein. Yeah, Epstein. Because just who Epstein is, you know? Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like pervasive, I don't know, like predatory behavior in that scene.
Yeah.
It's just really gross.
Yeah, to see them two especially together, that's disgusting. Yeah, that's way more cringe. Yeah. The booty jig doesn't necessarily make me cringe. It makes me disgusted. It makes me like it's so whack that all I can do is that. That's a significant amount of whackness for one to just intake at one time. But I'm not sure I feel cringe. Maybe cringe. Maybe cringe. You know what? If I saw it in person, maybe cringe. If I saw it in person. If I saw it in person, I think cringe. Yep. I think that's what it does.
I do think it's just slightly easier to like see it from a distance and laugh at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the laughter would probably come a little bit harder if we were actually there. We would probably be like, "What? Oh shit! Why are we here? Like, how do we get out of this?" It's one of those situations where you laugh later.
Yeah.
You laugh later. You in the middle of the situation, you like, oh, like you're wanting to get out of it, and you're just kind of soaking in the whackness of it, and then afterwards you're laughing. But see, we can talk about it from a distance and laugh, and face palm or whatever. But if we were in that situation, if we were stuck in a situation for some strange reason, and people were just like, "All right, guys, all right, we're about to do the booty jig."
Look, there's been many of those moments in our lifetimes where we were actually together for them as well. There was one that this was not one we were together for. This was back in high school. I don't know if I'm pretty sure you know about it. I'm pretty sure. But when unbelievable, like painful whackness hits you, like something, it
does something to you.
Oh, it does something to you. I remember back in high school, it was senior year, and a good friend of ours, not going to name no names, good friend of ours was interested in a girl.
Oh man! Yo!
I don't know if
you said you started off by saying, I don't know if you know about this, but as soon as you said that, I already know. But go ahead, my bad.
So, a good friend of ours interested in this girl. Girl had a friend. Of course, they go to high school with us. Girl had a friend. White girls. Okay, these two white girls. And I'm just along for the ride. Okay, I'm only along for the ride because my man needs a partner. I'm there for the ride. Okay, so I'm not really paying attention. We're at a restaurant. I'm not really paying attention to him. I'm not really there. I'm trying to. And first of all, we're in a place where there's no other black people too. So I'm like, all right. I'm like, how long I gotta be here? Okay.
This is back in the day.
This is back in the day.
Maybe 10% maybe.
Yeah.
On a good day.
It wasn't like if you're for me personally, especially back then. Here, you're in a place where you don't see nobody else of color. It's like, oh man. But anyway, so that's my thinking. Okay, I'm just here for the ride. I'm just chilling, not paying attention to the conversation. All of a sudden, I hear some conversation about people and this and that, and then somebody says MIBs, and so that kind of like I kind of perk. I'm like MIBs. I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm like. MIB. So, I kind of readjust my position to kind of turn to it.
Because that's code word for something.
It's got to be code word for something.
Because that's what we do as kids. You develop code words.
So,
things.
I'm engaged. I'm like, hold on. What y'all talking about? He's like, yeah, blah, blah, MIBs. I'm like, MIBs? What are MIBs? And so our very good friend turns to me with a very disgusted look on his face and says, black people. I can't tell you the overwhelming sense of disgust that just immediately
it's not
happened to this face.
I'm cool with like pejoratives or acronyms, but give us a good one. You know what I'm saying? Like, give us a good one.
See, Smitty said Men in Black. We knew. I mean, the movie was out. We knew what MIB, Men in Black. I knew what that meant, but they were talking about people, MIBs. I'm like, okay, MIB, that's fictional. So they're talking about actual people. What the hell are MIBs? Black people.
It's whack. You got give us something more fire than that.
I didn't pay attention to anything else the rest of the night. I turned back around and did not say anything.
There's a bunch.
I was done.
There's a bunch of chocolate candy bars.
I was done.
You know what I'm saying, that you could have chosen. You know what I'm saying? Damn.
MIBs, man. I will never forget that very tragic day in my life, man. That was one of those moments where the whackness was too much. It was too much for me to handle. Anyway, all right, so we got some more super chat activity. I think Moose Gal found the
sticker.
The stickers.
Yeah.
The super stickers.
We got a unicorn.
Yeah, we got a unicorn.
And I don't know if that's code word, but that's pretty clever if you were trying to be clever. But I think that's pretty clever. Because, Bernie Sanders is accused of offering his constituents unicorn.
I know.
Could be.
And rainbows.
Rainbows and unicorns. As said by Hillary Clinton, actually.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But we appreciate that, Moose Gal. Also, Duke of Bread, Jordan, says, speaking of whack, took advice, edited my song. Is it up? Is it up, though? Did you upload it? I haven't checked it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we got your sticker, Moose Gal. Appreciate that. Did you upload it, Jordan? Because if you uploaded it, we gonna get to it. Oh, it's up. Okay, all right. I'm gonna take a look at it. Yeah, after the show, we take a look at it. Yeah. Okay.
See, now he probably feeling himself now. You go to that channel, and he over here doing the most, man.
We might put it up for you. We could put it up at the end of the show or something like that.
He done made a video.
Wow.
Twerking. Got chicks twerking in the video.
Yo, the art is very interesting too. You got Bernie's face superimposed and onto a boxing scene. It's not bad. But anyway, appreciate all of our patrons on patreon.com as well. Got a new patron. Definitely want to shout out this individual. I forgot about that. Jeremy Friedman is our latest patron. So thank you very much, Jeremy. We appreciate you following us and you supporting us monetarily. We know how, that's not easy. Even if you're just giving $1 a month, that's definitely not easy.
Oh,
so
Mandy coming through. With the very animated sticker.
Yeah,
An animated
it's
sticker.
an animated sticker. Look at that. Oh, I like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's tight, man. Oh, so this is the new from YouTube.
Yeah.
This is new.
That's the new.
Okay. Appreciate that, Mandy.
So that's she just put in a super chat. Appreciate that. And we got another super chat coming in from Final Fantasy Draft. And he asks predictions on how Warren and Pete will do tomorrow. That's Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg. You know what? That's a smart ass question. And I think there's a reason why you asked that. Because of there's a lot of attention been put on them lately. And we thought Warren was going to get a lot of attention.
She is.
In this next debate, because there's so many questions surrounding her health care plan. Now, there's, Biden has put out plans, and, Sanders has put out plans since the last debate, but this is the plan, Medicare for all. This is about health care, so that's going to get a lot of attention. And I'm not sure if she will be able to successfully argue, I guess, the veracity of her plan. You mentioned Pete Buttigieg, the situation with how his campaign manipulated people, manipulated, I guess, certain prominent figures, prominent political figures in South Carolina to, I guess, co-signed his Douglas plan or whatever.
Marshall Plan.
Sorry, the Marshall Plan. And Pete Buttigieg's campaign presented it as they were, I guess, endorsing him as a candidate. They said some good things about his plan, and they wanted feedback. The Buttigieg campaign got some feedback from these black politicians and black leaders, I think 400 of them in South Carolina, and they made comments about his plan and said, yeah, it's good. There are certain things I like about it, blah, blah, blah. And they took some of their comments and kind of made it as if made it look like they were endorsing Buttigieg as a president, and that wasn't the case. So somebody might ask him about that. And
I don't think anybody's gonna ask him about it. I don't think anybody's gonna ask him.
They
about
might
it.
also ask him in the the presentation of this plan.
Where's the debate?
They used they used a stock photo of some Kenyan family. They couldn't even find black people to take a picture of.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he fields a question on that. I'd be surprised. Now, Buttigieg might get some more time, some talking time. Now, it's been ramping up. He's definitely been one of the, I guess he's been one of the, I guess you could say one of the top 4, top 5 candidates with speaking time. But he might get boosted up a little bit more. We don't know for sure, but there is a poll in Iowa in which he is leading now. He's in first place in that poll in Iowa. So, people are, taking that to mean a whole lot of stuff. I still don't. I think it was just back in September, he was at 9%. And I think it was the same poll, but in 2 months, I believe he's up at 20. I think the poll had him at 26%, maybe 24, 25, 26%. What's funny about it too is that I saw a reporting about this on CNN, and they were talking about the different candidates. They were talking about Pete Buttigieg at the top, Elizabeth Warren, who she's trending down, I believe, in this poll. Also, Joe Biden, I believe, was third, and how he's been trending down ever since, I think, June. Then Bernie Sanders. Then I think they had Klobuchar and Kamala Harris there. So, of course, they referenced Pete Buttigieg and how he's at the top now. Talked about Elizabeth Warren and talked about how Joe Biden is fading. And then talked about how Amy Klobuchar is now polling ahead of Kamala Harris. She's just off the map now. You know who they didn't reference at all? Bernie Sanders, man. Didn't say a word whatsoever about Bernie Sanders. Not one word. Didn't point to his name, didn't say his name, didn't say anything. But I guess it's more important to talk about how Amy Klobuchar is at the bottom. But, well, she's not at the very bottom. She's above Kamala Harris, so that's progress.
It's like the middle bottom.
Yeah. We should talk about her, but Bernie Sanders, yeah.
It's in Atlanta.
It's in Atlanta, okay.
ATL,
okay. It's possible, but I don't know. I doubt it. I haven't seen a lot of reporting about it. I definitely haven't seen a lot of reporting about it, so I'm assuming that it's not going to be addressed. So, yeah, Bernie Sanders' numbers are. You know what's funny, and we're gonna go soon. But what's funny is that Iowa is getting so much attention. I know it is the first contest. It's the first caucus. And rightfully so, it should get attention. I'm not even one here saying that, hey, all eyes should be off of Iowa. I'm not gonna say that. It should be captivating for a lot of people. But Pete Buttigieg now in one poll now is leading, and that means everything. But Bernie Sanders leading in California, which is a much more populous state with many, many, many more delegates, isn't really reported. They don't take it to mean anything. But Iowa means the world for Pete Buttigieg.
And I think the poll that, the media is, I guess, choosing to reference is, I want to say it's the Monmouth poll, could be?
I can't remember the name.
Can't remember the poll that they referenced, but it's one of the polls that is usually the most off. It has the highest, I guess, plus or minus
Mm-hmm.
for error factors. And it says this right in the poll, and you look at it, you're like, wait a second, that means that like somebody could be at a negative or extreme positive. So which poll was that?
It was a St. Anselm College poll. No, hold up, my bad. That's in New Hampshire.
You're talking about the Iowa one. Yeah.
I don't know why New Hampshire popped up when I'm talking about Iowa. Okay. Pete Buttigieg leads in the Des Moines Register, CNN Mediacom poll. You know what I just did there? I said Des Moines.
Des Moines?
Yeah, Des Moines. I always say that.
Yeah, I guess that's how I said it when I first learned
Yeah,
it.
whenever I see it, Des Moines, but it's Des Moines. Yeah. But anyway, we'll see how they perform. With Warren, I'm just a significant interest of mine is how she explains that healthcare plan. I don't think she's going to be able to do it very well. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Pete Buttigieg is never really that intriguing to me. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, we're going to be out. Appreciate everybody joining us once again. And we will be here on... See, look at that. Some more. We got some more people. We got Final Fantasy Draft again. Bernie will win Cali easily. They vote early. Yep, they do. Super Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
They vote Super Tuesday.
And I think with the what they, I guess, projected would be the California Golden Child in Kamala Harris, seeing as where her campaign is going, it doesn't. They set that up for the wrong person. Well, I think it's the right person, but
for them.
yeah.
Now we okay
because they changed the date.
Yeah, but okay, so last time around it was towards the end. So after that, no, even before that, they had already called the entire race for Hillary Clinton because of superdelegates. But still, we know that is the biggest prize. So if on Super Tuesday Bernie does come away with California, and of course there's going to be some other states as well, it really might be over. It really might be over.
That's I can see a lot of other candidates hanging it up.
Mm-hmm. So here's just hoping that it is that, especially in that poll, that Iowa poll, I don't believe he has made any movement in that Iowa poll. I think he was at 15%, and he was in 15% back in September, I believe, maybe even in June, and like he's around 15-16% right now. I've always said, take polling with a grain of salt. We don't, it doesn't mean the world. It means a little bit, but does it mean the world? I don't believe so. There were a lot of polls in 2016 that surely weren't accurate and off by huge margins again. I'm not talking about, there was a little sway, little swing in that. No. Entirely inaccurate. In Michigan, they had Hillary Clinton winning that at 99% likelihood. 99%. She lost.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Draft again. With another super chat with another message.
My bad. I meant 70% of people there vote early by mail. Okay. That's what, okay. Yeah. It's gotta be something. Oh, yeah, we didn't even talk about, we're not gonna do it. I'm not even gonna promise that because I don't think we're gonna have time on Thursday. But Bloomberg, you know what? He's actually not even that important to address. Unless we had just nothing to talk about. But Bloomberg said that he apologized for stop and frisk. Now
that he's entered the race, he all of a sudden wants to offer his apologies for stop and frisk.
Bloomberg.
I don't know. That doesn't strike me as very genuine.
You don't think it's genuine? I don't think it's genuine.
No.
I think it's a little bit of, what's that thing called?
Politically expedient?
Yeah, that thing right there. That thing. Yeah, that thing. Yeah. pandering a little bit. Just a little.
Oh, that's a panda bear move right there.
Environmental Coffee House. You guys have a great show.
Thank you
Well,
very
thank you
much.
very much.
I watch you too. Bet you didn't know that. I watch you too.
You know, I ain't show you this yet. We have I haven't really done the vetting of this. We have an offer for a like a branding offer. Like, it's like somebody wants us to endorse their product. Yeah, I'm gonna have to show it to you. Not sure we're gonna do that yet because I don't know. We gotta endorse. Well, we gotta kind of.
Ain't no draws, is
vet
it?
it. Nah, it ain't draws.
We ain't endorsing no draws.
Yeah, it ain't draws. I gotta vet. We gotta vet it though. We gotta vet it. I'm not even sure. I don't know. We'll vet it. We'll see.
It's like herpes ointment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I don't endorse herpes ointment. I don't care. Some people need herpes ointment. You stick your nose up on herpes. Hey.
There's a market, right? You said there's a market. There's a market for everything.
Hey, there's a market for herpes ointment. Straight up, man. I'm just saying, man. I ain't got to say I got it. I'm just saying. This is what you need if you got herpes. This is what you need right here. Straight up. Oh, all right. We're going to get out of here. Stop tripping.
Oh, snap, yo. Got sores you can't get rid of? Oh, snap.
Oh, man. All right. Now we're going to go. All right. So, everybody, have a good night. We will be back in a couple of days with too much to talk about. All right. So, everybody, enjoy yourselves. We'll see you on Thursday. All right. Peace out.